sebuah tumbang dan winner jika tidak didapatkan oleh Alter Ego Liveback, sebuah WWJD yang membuat kita harus mengatakan Alter Ego layak dan pantas ada di PMGC final. Alter Ego, go! Luar biasa sekali pertunjukan.
Kami tidak pernah menyangka giliran ini akan datang. Didorong dengan dukungan dan harapan yang membuat kami percaya bahwa kami tidak sendirian. Kali ini bukan hanya tentang sekedar berjuang, namun untuk siapa kami harus menang. Untuk mereka, untuk kita, untuk Indonesia. Terima kasih untuk kesempatan ini.
Sangat disayangkan ternyata Titan joint fight di sini tidak hanya Alpha Seven, hanya menyisakan satu yang terakhir Liquid. Bro banget Liquid, granat, oh no, granat tersebut memulangkan semua pemain Bigetron.
Masih berbantah, ternyata terbaik oleh tim Force luar biasa sekali bisa melakukan print karena bagian ini sangat baik kalau dia tahu
untuk Genesis sama ngeras maju karena bagian depan ibu-ibu beli beras. Ayo kita les maju tembak dan ternyata malah Fox Devo kali terus Devo baru diri saja Wustaman sangat disayangkan. Kita Indonesia.
Kita Indonesia. Kita Indonesia. Kita Indonesia.
Kita Indonesia.
Kita Indonesia.
kita Indonesia.
Kita Indonesia. Indonesia.
Яаж үзэхийг надад ч харуул. He's 5 out of 10. He looks funny and cute.
Espero que tenham gostado da minha dança.
Tamam, altın gibi lavukta burun böyle.
Merhaba, ben Fireflux takımından Keş.
За би чамд 10-аас 7 оноо өгье. Би өөртөө 7.1 өгье. Тэгээд яаж үзэхийг надад ч харуул.
5 points çünkü hareketi yanlış yapmış. Şimdi size doğrusunu göstereyim.
He's 5 out of 10. He looks funny and cute. I can do better. Let me show you.
Então, como eu disse, esse é o maior sonho de todos nós aqui do time. Então, a gente vai dar o nosso máximo, treinar bastante, estudar bastante, para os próximos campeonatos das nossas vidas. E vamos trazer esse título aí para a Inter e para o Brasil. E é na raça que ganhamos.
PMGC Grand Final'ında hedefimiz şampiyonluk.
Hi Mughal, this time we are here to win. So we'll come back home with trophy.
E torça pra gente na final da PMGC, que a gente vai dar o nosso melhor para trazer esse título para a Inter e para o Brasil. Hashtag GOING!
Финал дээр та нарыг тоглолтондоо илүү их анхаарах болох гэж бодож байна. Бид одод дугаар финал дээр уулзлаа.
Asla pes etmeyiz. Fireflux never play with fire.
Thank you for watching guys. That's all from pubg. See you guys at grand final.
Fans, both at home and here in Jakarta, welcome to the final day of the 2022 PMGC Grand Finals. My name is Bax and I am your host, and I'm joined right here on the main stage by my spectacular co-host, Donna Visca.
Thank you very much, Bax dan teman-teman semuanya. Sekali lagi, selamat datang di hari terakhir dari 2022 PMGC Grand Final. Luar biasa sekali energinya. We loving it here. Dan teman-teman sekalian, saya Donna Visca, senang sekali sebagai host kalian bersama dengan partner saya yang kece luar biasa di sini, ada Banks. Tapi mungkin sebelum kita mulai pertandingan ini, kita mau dengar kali ya yel-yel yang tadi tuh, yang tadi belum on air, kita ulangi sekali lagi kali ya. Boleh ya? Boleh ya? Indonesia! Everybody! Terima kasih banyak teman-teman semuanya. Tepuk tangan untuk kalian semuanya sekali lagi.
Yesterday, we saw matches 7 through 12, and we have just 6 matches remaining before we distribute that $1.5 million prize pool and, of course, crown our PMGC champion.
Ya, sejauh ini kita sudah menyaksikan total 12 kali pertandingan selama 2 hari kemarin. Dan kali ini hanya akan ada 6 kali kesempatan lagi untuk dimainkan oleh para tim, oleh para player di sini untuk bisa mendapatkan total hadiah paling besar dari total prize pool 1,5 juta US dollar dan menjadi juara PMGC.
The crowd is raring to go, Donna. I can feel it. The energy on the main stage, it is palpable. But before we get into today's final matches, we have a very special performance for you all.
So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mahalini Raharja and Alvin Jonathan. be the one. So please welcome Alvin Joe.
Alvin Joe mana suaranya? Hold top, look down, enter the bay. Lock in, drop out, become a memory. No time to wait, so don't hesitate. If I day, know your name. Falling, plan of action. We don't lose, there's no extraction. Take them on, it's all at stake. The dollar counts of seeing your face. Pain and sorrow pass today. You stay strong and refuse to break. You know the world is just today, and we will be the one. Time to take a stand. The world is in your head, and you can feel the way. The circle's closing in, and time to carry on, and we will be the one. Roll the dice and hold them tight. Roll in the race to stay. Roll your life and wait for you. Just give it a roll, make it true. Find the path of victory. Enemies will come in your way. Keep it mark, it's time to move. You have everything to do. And baby, times don't pass to stay strong and refuse to break. You know the world is yours today, and we will be the one. Time to take the stand. The world is in your head, and you can feel the way. You can feel the way. The circle's closing in. It's time to carry on, and we will be the one. Terima kasih buat PUBG Mobile yang udah undang kita ke sini. Terus senang banget karena acara ini bisa diselenggarakan di negara tercinta.
Tepuk tangan dulu buat Indonesia udah bisa PUBG Mobile ngadainnya di Indonesia, mungkin masih spesial banget. Dan semangat terus buat PUBG Mobile dan seluruh pemain, semangat untuk Day 3 dan let's go Alter Ego! Once more, Alter Ego mana suaranya? So thank you so much guys, semoga Indonesia bisa jadi number one. Bye semuanya, terima kasih banyak.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Wow, that was absolutely incredible. Thank you so much once again to Mahalini Rahaja and Alvin Jonathan for that incredible performance, wasn't it, Donna?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and it is almost time for us to see the final matches of today, Bang.
Yes, but before we get to that, we have to say a quick hello and have a quick chat with the home team, it would seem, right, Donna?
Yes, jadi teman-teman semuanya, let's go aja kita sambut Potato dari Alter Ego. Let's go.
Potato from Alter Ego, for those of you who don't know, but everyone in here does. I have to say, you know what, Potato, I guess it's fair to say that your performance yesterday in day 2 was better than day 1. What alterations did you make between those 2 days?
Jadi sebenarnya ya kita bisa, fansnya banyak banget tuh. Potato. itu bisa dibilang lebih baik daripada hari yang pertama. Jadi ada evaluasi apa aja yang dilakukan selama dari hari pertama ke hari kedua kemarin, Potato?
Kita evaluasi di eksekusi sama finishing di dalam in-game aja sih.
Alright, so the execution and also finishing inside the game, they really do the evaluation over that.
One thing that we have to mention is the winner chicken dinner that you got yesterday. The crowd went absolutely wild. The national flag was being passed across everyone. I really hope you got to see it. Now, I just have to ask you, how does it feel to be participating in this competition in your home country and being the only team that's representing Indonesia?
Jadi kemarin pas udah WWCD tuh, by the way gue juga di situ, di tengah-tengah para alter champ semuanya, luar biasa sekali energi mereka semua. The crowd was crazy, mereka semua cheering untuk alter ego, bahkan ada bendera Indonesia juga yang udah dikibarkan, dikeluarkan di sana. Gimana Potato sendiri melihat fans atau alter champs di sana? Apalagi alter ego adalah satu-satunya, lebih tepatnya wakil dari Indonesia sendiri. Gimana perasaannya Potato?
Perasaan kita anak-anak Limak sih ya bangga lah karena kan dari pendukung lainnya juga bersatu buat Indopret. Jadi sangat bangga dan nggak mau ngecewain mereka semua yang udah datang jauh-jauh juga.
Alright, they definitely are very proud of their fans, especially with Indonesian fans. They are coming all together to support Indo Pride, which is alter ego here, and they definitely don't really want to disappoint all of the fans here.
Well, speaking of your fans, you know, I'd love to give you the opportunity to say something to them, to your friends, to your family, and to your fans who have supported you throughout this entire year, all the way up to this point. What would you like to say to them?
Jadi mau silakan sepatah dua patah kata mau disampaikan untuk para fans di sini.
Untuk semuanya mohon dukungan dan supportnya karena masih ada 6 game, semuanya masih bisa terjadi apapun itu.
Yes, of course, semua masih bisa terjadi teman-teman semuanya. Please support Alter Ego because they still got 6 matches left, still 6 matches to go, and everything can happen inside this game. They definitely can go up in the leaderboard as well.
Well, Potato, thank you so much for joining us in your pre-match interview. We're going to let you go back to your booth and practice, get the rest that you need, and get ready for that first match. And congratulations on all your success so far. You may now go back to your booth.
Terima kasih, Potato. Sekali lagi, Potato.
And now, I believe, without further ado, it is time to go over to the analyst desk where they can break everything down before we dive into our first match of the finals.
Jadi langsung aja tanpa basa-basi lagi kita lemparkan ke analis desk kita untuk bisa break everything down sebelum kita masuk ke game yang pertama. Jadi analis dan juga host kece kita silakan.
Thank you so much, Banks and Daviska from the stage right behind us. And welcome back, everybody, to the final day of the PMGC Grand Finals 2022. My name is Felix, and I will once again be having the honor of hosting this beautiful desk. My goodness, a fantastic and beautiful, surprising year of PUBG Mobile Esports lies behind us. And it all comes down to this day. A world champion will be crowned today, and we will find out who will be the one. And who better to do that with? That Maximan and 7 Worlds Gaming. How are you guys feeling?
Fantastic. I mean, we had 2 great first days of play for the Grand Final 7, and now we're ready to crown our champions. Is it going to be Nova? Is it going to be a new team for the first time? I have no idea, but it's going to be wild.
We'll have to wait and find out, and I'm actually, you know what, the alter ego got to me. I borrowed the jacket from the coach of alter ego, and I'm looking forward that they actually have good performances. Yesterday's pop-off from the crowd was amazing, and I want to see that. I want to see that again.
We will see whether or not they will be popping off in just a couple of minutes. But first of all, we want to take a minute to thank our beautiful sponsors. First of all, Sony and Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV's beautiful smartphone. Also, Sony Xperia Stream, which were co-developed but in collaboration with professional esports players. You can play PUBG Mobile with Xperia Stream's total cooling system and multiple ports for intensive gaming and streaming. So if you want to share your highlights, if you want to stream any of the social media platforms, you will be able to do so with no problem at all. Also, we want to thank Prime Gaming. In case you haven't heard of it, make sure to sign up. You'll get free games, free in-game premium content for lots of games, also for PUBG Mobile. So make sure to sign up and head on over the links. You can find them in social media and in the chat. And also, we want to thank PBESI, which is the local esports association in Indonesia. Thank you so much also for supporting this beautiful event right here in Jakarta, Indonesia. In case you haven't seen it, most of you probably have, but if you haven't, you can vote for your favorite team. You see the graphic right at the bottom of your screen. You can vote for your favorite team in the grand finals, and you can find PMGC tokens in Arengel, and you can use them to vote for your favorite team in the esports center. Make sure to open up your app and check it out. And last but not least, make sure to follow us on our socials. We've got plenty of them, and you can see them right there on your screen. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter. You can find us in the name PUBG Mobile Esports. Make sure not to miss us on these socials, and you will be informed about all and everything in terms of esports. Literally everything's there. Like, everything is so condensed, and all the highlights, all the players, everything that's going on inside the next year, you will not want to miss all these beautiful information and socials. Let's get over to what we actually have in store for today, because this is the last day of PMGC.
Yeah, last day of PMGC, 6 more matches now remaining, 7, and gonna see how things are gonna be coming out. We have some comebacks happening in the second day in particular. So many teams are so close. We'll look at the rankings later on, but I would almost have to say almost every single team have a shot in these next 6 matches to make history.
We were talking about it before we actually started. We were looking at the leaderboard, which we will show you later. We're like, yeah, almost any team has a chance. If they can get a win right off the bat, they might put themselves into contention. And I mean, look at some of these teams. Some of them, I will have to call them out. I kind of expected to see more, but there was flashes of greatness yesterday. So I'm looking forward to seeing if we're going to be seeing that too from some of the other teams as well.
Exactly. I mean, some of the teams are a little bit lower, right? The reason why we say it's still possible for them is they need to start off hot today, and if they do so, they can be back in the race to take the trophy back home.
Let's take a look at the top 4 damage dealers inside this PMGC finals so far. Starting off with top from Star Wars. Godlike Star Wars, my goodness.
He had a banger day yesterday, I can tell you that much. But if you want a chicken dinner, I do want to see a Star Wars chicken dinner happening eventually. But if there's one player that's going to stand out from Star Wars, well, Godlike Star Wars, it tends to be top pretty consistently, and he's got the white hair buff now. He's on point.
I was expecting red hair, but you know what? I'll take it, especially since he's currently #1. But then you can see Revo. I mean, off the 7, even though they were very quiet yesterday, it's impressive to see that Revo was able to still perform and be up there with the top 4. And then we go to the top 4 knocks. I mean, S2G, I can say, I expect them to be in top 5, and man, they're currently in contention to definitely get that win. 64 knocks out of them.
Strong, insanely strong second day. We were saying it, they were not too consistent when it comes to getting elimination and placement points in day 1. They worked on that, they improved upon it, and that is why they're currently in that top 3 podium position as of right now. And the thing is also, Silas doesn't need a team. Very clearly. This man give him 1 nade, squad wipe.
Okay, true, but then we have to be careful with Nova, right? We saw day 2 Nova yesterday, and they definitely pushed up. We heard it from Pairboy. They expected to be in top 5. Well, guess what?
They did.
They set themselves perfectly to be exactly in top 5 and try to chase down some of the teams at the top, like Inco Gaming. So it'll be interesting if they are actually going to be able to catch them up.
Talking about past performance, let's take a quick look and have a quick recap at what's been happening so far. I love it. Starting off with S2G, that nade was fantastic. I was sitting in my seat, and I literally just wanted to scream. That nade, you can see it right there from this angle. But that's literally an art.
I mean, yeah, he didn't have his team. His team was like literally, I think, like 200 meters away. He's like, don't worry, boys, I got this. 1 nade goes for the push, then the entire team just joins up. And their hold on this position, if Nova did not really put himself in that position earlier, that would have been an SGG win, but then Nova does what Nova does on their second day, apparently. You know, they start off doing their research, then second day, they pop off, and now they're in a position to compete, to claim their trophy back to back to back, and that was insane.
I mean, talking about Nova, I mean, Jamie, for him to be able to do that play right there and Frozen throwing that nade, getting that extra knock, and then they just continue to push, and we didn't even... we didn't get to see the Parapoint Dave, that was so amazing. We were kind of joking about it yesterday, right? Paraboy was doing so well that he decided to name his teammates as well.
I do wish I was as good as Paraboy, where I get 6 eliminations in 1 fight versus 1 team. Those are the stats we're working with on Paraboy's side. But once again, SUG, the big step up, so many strong plays when it came down to it. The thing is, hopefully it's not going to be just day 2 to be their legacy in these grand finals. We want to see if they can keep the pressure on and keep these matches going their way.
And with SUG, I mean, I think you mentioned it perfectly too earlier. It comes down to, are they going to be able to get those eliminations? They have showcased that they can actually continue to get those placement points, and that's why they're currently sitting in second place, as you can see right there with 123 points. And then we have Inco Gaming. That was the biggest surprise for me. I didn't expect them to be in that first place. I thought it was going to be off of 7, but Inco Gaming, they are very confident, and don't worry, we'll get a chance to talk about them a little bit more later on.
No, not only Alpha 7 and Inco Gaming in the top 3, also S2G, and we talked about them plenty. They did have a rough start of this tournament, but you have come back, especially in terms of eliminations.
Exactly, I mean, we say we want to see a 50-50 split here coming out when it comes to rank with placement points and eliminations, and they've been able to do that in absolute banging fashion on the second day. And the most impressive thing is only 5 Western teams, 3 of those are in the top 3 right now, which is mental when you think about it, when in the past it's always been dominated by Asian teams.
Yeah, and when we were talking earlier about teams that might be able to make a push towards the top, this is what we meant. Any of these teams, I personally think up to 12. I think, Max, you were saying up to 15, right?
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken. They can make a push to at least the top 3, to at least the top 1. It's going to be interesting. It comes down to the first game. It looks at this head-to-head between Racy and Paraboy.
Okay, but of course this is a big step up. I'm sure that if Paraboy played like day 2 on day 1, I'm sure the stats would be way higher, but that just goes to show how much of a redemption they've been able to kick off on that second day. And I saw a lot of theories going on online. It tends to always be the case for Nova. Day 1, research, analyze. Day 2, start your comeback. Day 3, dominate. And I want to see if we can see that once again today.
You want to see dominate? I actually want to see if Order is going to be showing up. We saw him being a little bit of a rough stretch out of him, and then we go to the top Erangel performance. I mean, Inco Gaming, this is what's so impressive out of this team. I feel like they could have gotten 2 extra wins yesterday when it came down to Erangel. I got a chance to talk to their coach, and they told me that they are aware of the mistakes. We were kind of pointing it out, right? Whenever they did a 2-2 split late in the game, we were scratching our heads. We're wondering why they're even doing that. They are aware of it, and they are going to be fixing those kind of mistakes.
Yeah, I was actually really happy when you told me that earlier when you had that chat, and the fact they knew that that was a big issue, and we do not want to see those same mistakes happen once again. If that's the case, they could potentially hold on to the place in first, and maybe take the trophy home to Brazil.
Are you teasing me?
Yes, I am. A little bit. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have seen it. We will be starting off with Ariel in just a couple of minutes, and we want to take this time to maybe touch on the biggest storylines. Apart from Nova, maybe coming back to the team that we've talked about just very briefly right there. Godlike Starwood, they seem to be making a comeback. That was their first 2 times they've been inside the top 3 in the last 2 games. You think it's going to start off in day 3 as well?
That's the big thing. As you said, no, a second place and a third place. I want to see, can they keep that momentum? Because apparently, I talked to Senator, the coach of the team, the moral of the team is actually really good, which is surprising, knowing that they've been struggling. They've been seen as one of the favorites going into this tournament, not been able to really perform. So the fact that the moral is still there is good, but I do wonder if they can keep the momentum here.
Okay. Let's take a quick look at the teams to watch from both of our analysts, and maybe starting off with you, Seven. Oh, what? Okay. I mean, tell me about one of your teams, or maybe just all of them, because they're the same, you know?
Alter Ego. I mean, this is the only chance that I feel like I'm going to get a chance to actually talk about them. They showed up an amazing improvement yesterday with that win, especially in Sandhog. We were talking about it. They played that perfectly. The way they were doing their split, the way they were willing to take fights, too. I feel like if this team can actually continue to do that and continue to improve and get themselves there within the top 3, they could possibly get the win here, and this crowd would go absolutely nuts.
I just want to get one more chicken dinner. Just give me
yes. I think we all want to. Max, going over to you. Godlike Starwood, we were just talking about them.
I feel like they blame me already on Twitter for cursing them pretty extensively. I get it, but Godlike Starwood right now, I gotta go entirely in. I got the jersey on right now. Okay, Godlike Starwood, if there's one time to make a comeback happen, it is right now on these next 6 matches. I believe they can make it happen. Keep on going, boys.
He cursed us.
They are sitting in 9th place right now. Yeah, we're talking about curse. Let's hope it's going to be that way for them. Talking about another team that's pretty far down there, Buriram. They just won that last game. And we were saying, we were hoping for a comeback. Any words on Buriram going into today?
It was a good third party. I think there's one thing we can say about that game. They were opportunistic. That's great. I want them to create their own luck. I want to see a game where they have 4 players remaining and they just look hyper-aggressive, willing to take control of a position in the game. We haven't seen that at all these entire finals, except for that third party, as you just mentioned. I want to see the league stage, Buriram. They've been missing so far. I want to see them hopefully come back today.
And for me, going based on their performances so far up to that one game, right, it's just not going to be good enough. I actually don't even have them finishing in the top 10.
Brutal.
Yep.
Look at this. We will see some of the players in the background. And talking about the Brazil region, maybe let's quickly touch on A7 because that was one of your favorites, 7. They had only a single game in this tournament, but they did not get a single frag. Only one game. Do you expect that to continue?
No, I think the team is definitely aware of the issues that they need to fix. I got a chance to talk to them, and they were very confident. Actually, impressively confident. Their mood was actually very high, too, because this is a team that we've been mentioning over and over again. They go on momentum very, very much, and I feel like it's going to come down to the first game. If they have a great first game, then Alpha 7 might have a chance to actually get in this win and being able to be the global champions. Yeah. But if they don't start off hot, I don't think it's going to happen, and I think it will probably end up at the top.
I mean, if you're purely looking at like, the odds of the trophy going to Brazil, they're pretty high.
Yeah.
You've got Inco in first, you've got Alpha 7 in third. It's looking pretty good. Though, I do want to bring a little bit of an underlying theme that we haven't really talked about too much. It is DRX. We keep talking about these massive teams all the time. You're talking about your Inco, X2G, Alpha 7, Nova. But DRX, they're chilling in 4th position, and if they strike hard today, we might see an Nepali team become the world champion.
Max, and they do have 2 wins in Erangel. And
that's big.
We do play Erangel 3 times today, so if there was ever a time for them to win, it will be today.
If the Nepali region can prevail, we will see in game number 1 of the PMGC Grand Final, Day 3. And who better to do that with than John Allen and Blank. Take it away, boys.
Thank you so much. We are into that final stretch. So are the teams. We are absolutely ready for it. Only time will tell what is going to happen because it is still all to play for.
It is still all to play for. There's so much on the line right now. Huge amount of prize pool, huge amount of prize money, huge amount of glory to be found during today as well. Day 3, 6 more matches. That's it. You're done. You're finished. And that will be the 2022 book to a close. And I'm very, very excited to see exactly how that last chapter does finish and what it sets us up for next year. Because if it is the 3P coming through from Nova, once again, teams will be looking to dethrone that king right at the top next year in Turkey. Or will we have ourselves a new PMGC Grand Champion looking to defend next year? I think that one of the crazy things is that right now, the way S2G is currently playing, and you keep saying this, John, is that they could certainly be the winners, and it could be a home ground team defending over in Turkey.
It would be amazing to see. It would be quite a story as well to see if S2G can keep that momentum going throughout the year as well, because that's going to be an important factor moving out of this tournament. But we've got to think about that later, Blank, because right now they've got to win it first if they want to be defending champions. Plenty of other teams, though, wanting to challenge for that title. You talked about defending champions Nova. Sure, they've had that rise from 10th up to 5th so far over yesterday, but they still have a little bit more to climb. And teams like Inco will not be going down without a fight. Even teams like Alpha 7, who started day 1 very, very strong, and coming back into day 2, didn't have as much power, are going to be looking to put their best foot forward here in match number 1 on the day. We are looking for the first Erangel.
Horrible playing pass to start our day off here, though. Day 1 was very kind. Day 2, even kinder when it came to playing pass. Day 3, no prettiness, no mercy. Playing pass out from Sosnovka all the way to the western side of Gatka here. A horrific way to begin, but for Stalwart dropping out early towards Novo, this could be a really good start for these boys.
And definitely 2 teams going to be dropping out on the eastern side of the military island. Going to be a little bit of conflict potentially over towards Novo, a hot drop, and 2 more teams, 3 teams that will be dropping out over Sosnovka, but they're all heading north, so likely going to see them over on that main island. Nobody going for C block at the moment, not that I can see anyway, which is fairly interesting, I'd say, with the playing path as it is. Still time to turn around if they want to go. And look at that, Alpha 7, they did drop out in the same position as Godlike Stalwart, but they are going to go all the way over the water towards Milter Power.
Yeah, I mean, but this is practically their basic drop spot anyways. This is fine for Alpha 7 as a backup. Other than that, was North George also an availability for Alpha 7, been dropping there majority of the time throughout the tournament. But Milter Power, Milter, very standard drop spot for Alpha 7 during this match. I don't think anyone's going to cause them too many problems on this side.
I am really surprised, though, that nobody dropped on C block or even on the western side of that island. They're all going to head north, and not only because of the playing path now, they will go up with the circle. Another northern Erangel.
I think for most people, they realize that, honestly, going down towards Sosnovka military base on C block with this type of meta, this type of lobby, where they're all going highly central. That's Inco, though, getting dropped upon by S2G. They lose a couple there. That's one already down. Vitali sends away. Takes a fair bit of damage on the way out. That's Inco already losing one player. This could be a little bit tricky for them now. Wanting to take that central position early on, play with 4, but now playing with 3. This will cut their chances a little bit. With losing Nenebete as well. That's really not the ideal candidate. Hang on a minute. Buradam are there as well. Inco, they are getting chased down right now. S2G with the elimination point that they were able to get. They're now 1 point behind Inco at the top of the tables, blank, and maybe looking to pursue a little bit more with only 2 players alive. For Inco, you've got to think that that central strategy of theirs is looking pretty shaky.
Yeah, this is not ideal for Inco, honestly, especially with that playing path. It does not give them a lot of time to get set up and going. Inco is a team that tends to do very, very well towards that end game, honestly, John, and that's where they find their big rewards. And you can also get yourself some big rewards from 2022 PMGC Special Crate, only available till the end of today, January 8th, so make sure you get hands on that whilst you still can.
4 angry men just picking each other up and moving forwards. Look at this, early moves. Generally, what you will see from Inco this time around, though, they are cut down in half. Vitali took a lot of damage early. There's no meds on Squash, so they still have yet to go for this loot. A lot of teams have made their way up north fast, and one of those teams, 4 angry men, will be across that river in North George, 2-2 right now. And all 4 of them still alive. T2K also moving to that north of the river. IHC, South George occupation.
Yeah, T2K can head towards Box Compound, perhaps hold there for a little while longer before heading up towards the Verney side. 4 AM picking up their usual drop spot in North George, so they know that this should be clear, this should be clean. They're able to drop out and get towards that position nice and early. Inco's headed up towards Rozok. I imagine that they'll loot up quickly and then head a bit further upwards, but I think right now with Severny, a very limited amount of places you can play in Severny and that area around it, this is going to require you to have 4 members, 3 members alive to be able to take some of the priority positions. So I think this might be a bit of a write-off for Inco at the start of the day. However, this does lead us into a lot of that big storyline. However, Frozen currently demolishing Jane here, sending an absolute deadly spray his way.
And only bandages on board for Jane, which means that this fight is looking pretty shaky for the T2K outpost. Nade in through the window! You only need 1 HP to be able to lob those nades through, and that's going to be a flush. Frozen eliminated by T2K.
For Nova, that is such an unfortunate result. Like you said, Jane being on practically no HP there, perfectly lobs that grenade through the window. Will take down Frozen. Now Nova starting the day where they wanted to have that comeback, where they wanted to have that domination on day 3, to send them towards that upper side and really be in the fight for those number 1 and 2nd spots. Realistically, they want the trophy once again. But right now, it's S2G and Inco hugely pulling ahead. And with Inco losing 2, it might just be S2G creating an even bigger buffer between them and the rest of the teams in this lobby.
Alter Ego. They have absolutely spurred the crowd to hysteria sometimes, especially with their chicken dinner yesterday. But they do still have their work cut out for them. 15th place right now, 65 points on the board. They aren't lost, I think that's what we can say for them, but they did manage to get the chicken dinner, and the one that they did get, it was fairly convincing.
Yeah, it was a good chicken dinner. I was talking to Denny about it, coach from the team, saying that, you know, they were given the circle. I had to be nice to him. I was like, look, you're given the circle, but you still have to play that out correctly. Take that win. I think that Indonesia could be certainly proud. And he said, yeah, well, we changed a few things, and we worked on it. And again, this is PMGC. This is the hardest PMGC we've had in basically forever. So for Alter Ego to continue performing like this, it's really good to see. And I don't think there's a single team here that has underperformed massively. Maybe VPE, you could say, currently at 45 points, but there is 6 more matches still to go. Maybe they could change things.
Nova at the top of Everest, after getting backed off the position in the compound across the river by T2K, with a sneaky little nade. Godlike Stalwart moving on the southeast side as IHC and Fireflux in the crates near Georgia Pole, looking to lay claim. I think Fireflux, yeah, they have just been trying to move in on that west coast, and Solke gets spotted. IHC want to close the jaws of this, moving 2 players up to the warehouse. Solke into the vehicle as well, looks to hop out as they will have heard that one. The engine did switch on and 2 players going straight on in. Solke with a challenge now, half HP, going to be tricky to make it work. UMP to move forward, a lot of damage sent in, but Solke's being flushed out, goes for the challenge and it is IHC to take him down. Solke falls and the rest of Fireflux divert attention, they flee, go back south.
Very nice stuff there coming through from IHC. Well, let's get themselves few, or at least 1 point, right? That 1 elimination, but it gives them a nice little platform to play from going forward. Of the 50 eliminations, I mean, it's difficult not to go for him. UI did have 49 though, so you've got to respect that. Just a little bit behind all of them. Kind of too good, let's be honest.
4 Angry Men. They'd be making a little bit of an impact themselves. Currently 93 points, 7th place. Nova only 3 points ahead of them. Svan, the legacy player from this roster, keeping them in and leading from the front, really. I feel like this is a roster that has had quite a lot of power with it.
Yeah, WWX has been doing a very, very good job as well for that team. They've been putting in a lot of work. I don't think there's really anyone on there that hasn't pulled their weight. And I think that's exactly what the organisation wanted. Yes, Svan is great at leading that team, and he certainly does look like he has a ton of experience on board. But I think they have created this core now, which is quite strong, and it's certainly something that will carry 4AM to even greater heights coming towards that future. They're not that far behind some of these big teams for the stop. I think it was 93 points they started on today, which is fantastic. That still gives you a good running, 30 points behind the front runners. That's just one big chicken dinner, and right now, with where they're currently sat, they maintain a lot of the control over towards that northwestern side of the circle. And a lot of times, 4AM really struggles when they lose players early on. They're not able to get themselves set up. They can't play their splits. They've been given enough time now, I'd say, that they can set themselves up for a very strong late game without losing players at this current moment. Means that I think this could be a good 4AM game.
Influence came in as well, shimmying around on that northern side. Alpha 7 just a little bit to their west right now. Influence came in the lowest scoring Brazilian team, but in 8th place with 91 points. Still in that contest, which is saying something. 3 Brazilian teams here in the finals. We've got 3 Chinese teams, but those nationalities are the highest represented in this stage. So the fact that all 3 of those Brazilian teams have over 90 points is really quite saying something.
It's an astounding result for the region, honestly. I think if you're a Brazilian fan, you should absolutely be proud of your country. You know, they've really fielded not only 1 team, 2 teams, but 12 separate players, all right now here in the PMGC. Every single one of them of insanely good caliber. It's very difficult to find that in any one country or region, just in the sense of like, being able to, even if you're able to cherry pick, being able to have that core, that synergy as well, and all these players working together, this is a very rare occurrence that you do not see very, very often. I think it's wonderful to see as well. I mean, just Americas in general having this standout region for themselves, this standout country, bringing this kind of presence, this kind of pressure to every other team within this lobby. We've had a real turn of good events here in the PMGC, and over this last year, PUBG Mobile, a lot of successes. And right now, I think that PUBG Mobile is only going to get harder in terms of skill and what you're going to have to bring to the table. But I think we're only getting better talent coming through to the scene, and I think we'll see some more familiar faces going towards the future.
I feel like that is the story that we've seen over the course of this year, is the leveling up of every single region.
Yeah.
I think there is not one that doesn't have some sort of massive improvement that we've seen over the course of this year, which is absolutely phenomenal, and it makes me really excited, especially for, I mean, what is next year's final going to look like over in Turkey?
100%. I think that when you look at it, it's like, it feels very much like the PUBG Mobile team is trying to bring us more in line with the Chinese type of esports, PEL for instance. You know, we're getting similar points in terms of their point system. Not exactly the same. I think they have some slightly different rules when it comes to eliminations, but we've got different circle changes now, making the game much more fair. I think overall, you know, not only is everyone leveling up to the level of China, but now also we're having our scene becoming much more similar to theirs. I think we're going to see a whole new game coming from the next year. And it's just these little changes that are completely changing the dynamic of the game. It's very fun to see. You can tell that the PUBG Mobile team is working really hard in the background to make sure everyone at home, everyone during the tournaments, everyone who's competing in the tournaments is getting the best game to compete in. So I'm proud to be part of this community, man.
Well said.
Thank you.
An admirable sentiment, and one that I firmly agree with. The circle, coming back into this game, blank. It went hard northwest. This is a hard shift up to the north side, but it's probably one of the better circles for this current split. Isolating and leaving that river means the teams won't have to make that 50-50 coin flip. Instead, they'll look to play these set pieces around the river crossings. But Wolves going to look to hold that on the south.
Absolutely. I think that when you look at this as well, one team in particular catches my attention is Alpha 7. Not an easy push, not an easy rotation for them going up from middle to power to suddenly be towards the center of the circle here, shooting range. But S2G currently taking a lot of casualties here versus Wolves. Just one player remaining, and it's Nova as well off in the distance, taking some pot shots. They have one player that might be able to get them back up on their feet, but there is an enemy team in the background. It's Stalwart coming through, and Hamzy G just sent for the water, swim this one out.
Paraboy with plenty of support of his own in this arena here in Jakarta. Going to be taking shots actually over towards everyone. God, like Stalwart also third partying in. Beautiful wants to confirm these flushes. Two players active for the Wolves. And he moves up on the ridgeline. Hamzy G is beneath him. Needs to be careful, but there does seem to be some backup there. Calceat, Silas, both going to be flushed out. Now they can turn their attention to the reses, unless Hamzy G has something to say about it. Floating around near the boat. Remember, spots it. And there's no way Hamzy gets up here.
Goodness me, the top two teams looking like they've come out of the ring with Muhammad Ali, because honestly they look battered at this stage of the game. I think that you're looking at this, and this is a great opportunity for teams underneath them, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th here even, down to 7th. They could jump up now. This is a great opportunity. The fact that Inco, as well as S2G, aren't really going to profit very much from this game if they don't get their players in towards that end game in the first place. This is a very, very wild start to our day 3, where absolutely no one's safe once again.
The southwest side being overseen by 4 Angry Men. We talked about how strong their position was for quite a while, actually, and now Vampire are finding out just what a difficult position it will be. The circle gives 4 Angry Men as well some legs into the next phase. On the south side of it, that cut does keep them in, but Vampire going to have to push further north.
I think when you look at 4AM's position, it's actually incredibly good. Purely with where they're playing, they have a massive amount of high ground looking down towards the players underneath. Ingo's making a swift rotation on that northern side. In the meantime, got like Stalwart still taking some good shots. Memory pumps them down below. That's Hamzy G going down too. So S2G out now.
Second place team eliminated on 124 points now after the game. Once you add that elimination point in, Inco might actually have, with a duo, an opportunity to open up a 7-8 point lead if they're lucky. See how much further they can go. God, like Stalwart not stopping with just the one team. They want to try and take a second as well. They want to ruin the day of Wolves. Seemed like they were somewhat back on form coming into yesterday.
Looked a bit better. I think that was just a case of being able to figure out the lobby. Again, one of the invited teams. They didn't get to play with these circle settings for our group stage. I think Royal Torigo, again, still very admirable for this team to be where they currently are, considering they didn't get a lot of practice during that group stage against a lot of these teams and the new circle settings. It's a lot to come into, a lot to figure out on the fly. Wolves now going down. Inco moved across that northern side, like I said before. A bit of a dangerous push, but they made it happen. Unfortunately, Influence came in the wings on that northwest side. That will be a problem for them later. 4AM though, Spot Nova coming towards them. Already find one, and I think it might be lights out for Nova at this rate.
Nova with just order now to keep them alive. Repositions, maybe looking for the res over onto Paraboy. will not be the easiest, but no, they aren't actually going to try and make that one happen. Probably wise. Only one first aid available for Order in the meantime. Catch from Fireflux. 3 of those players alive as well, as Godlike Stalwart rocks straight on up into T2K. Scry has gone down, but they send Rig on kneeling as well. Pika on the inside of the shack, finds the player, gets the knock. And Godlike Stalwart turning up the heat. Maxman with the jersey.
I mean, you can only curse him for so long, right? It's got to cancel out at some point during this day, and I feel like it's right now. 6 eliminations. Good stuff. Alter Ego on the prowl, though, from afar. Shots coming through. Stalwart taking a heavy amount of punishment. Should be able to get some reses off, some meds through. Vampire Esports also looking towards his position. Mini 14.
Oh, not quite able to spot what they needed there for Fluke. Smokes to allow them forwards, though. Could sneak a couple nades into the shack. And they swing down low. Ravenclaw leads that charge. Alter Ego won't be able to spot that, but their shots still pouring on in from Godlike Stalwart. They've lost action, so they are at 3. 6 eliminations, and they are caught in the midst of it. A need forward from Ravenclaw, and a knock over onto Scry. Pika, half HP, has to move out the back there. Top wanting to try and play anchor. Nova eliminated in the meantime. Central position. Fluke spotted, and Alter Ego starting to light it up here. Ravenclaw wants another nade over the top, but taken very, very low. Has to run with the blue zone, and is back now.
Ooh.
An uncomfortable scenario, but Stoned has it with the
That's 4 AM.
support coming on in. Stoned moves up around the edge, but the Vampire's not going to stand too much longer there. 13th place and only 2 eliminations.
I wonder if 4 AM has beat onto this. I mean, this is uphill, so a little bit more of a tough angle to take shots at towards. Vampire Esports, what a rough time of it, though. Running through all this, trying to take shots at the team from Stalwart, also taking shots from Alter Ego, sending them back, and Alter Ego is very happy to just send this one away. But that's Sky only running down one of Influence Kevin's players. Inco down to 1, they cut their losses, sent one of their players up towards the northwest side, and Vitali over towards the centre. Right now, it will be earning 1 point just in terms of ranking from a 12th place. See how long Vitali can go for. Any kind of points you can get at this point is useful to them.
DRS. You call them a very effective edge-playing team.
Yeah.
Probably one of the best in the lobby. They'll be playing from that north side. They were suppressing Alter Ego's movements on the south side. As 400 men rack up their 5th elimination of this game so far. They're going to hound on the heels of DRS.
Absolutely. I mean, DRS is sneaky, like the assassins of the lobby. It's really fun to watch them play, honestly, because like I said, they are probably one of the best edge teams in the lobby. It's not easy to play edge. I think Fireflux has certainly suffered because of those reasonings. This lobby just doesn't take to it. But on this northeastern side, and on the east side in general, DRS has found themselves a really, really strong position to play it from. The moment they're cutting down Alter Ego. Crunch between the vehicles, won't go down though, he's been sent all over the place.
Pops out for a trade, and Alter Ego rolled up on by DRS. A presence to be felt and feared. 5 eliminations now on the game for DRS as they take that northeastern side. Very, very close by to Alpha 7 on the overall standings as Influence Kemin look to try and close that gap as well. Law moving in against Buradam. Sky only fades out in the background. Tiger last standing for the squad. Swings out on an excellent duck shot there. But unfortunately, across the way, it's Alpha 7.
Alpha 7 taking down Influence Kemin. Well, Buradam saving the lives of their Brazilian brethren. Really good stuff there. That season with 3 eliminations now. But 4 AM, not quite done yet. Losing 1 player is a little bit problematic. Geek Fam down towards their western side. Fireflux ahead. IHC looking to sweep on that northern side up towards Influence Kemin. But A7's got this real crazy lineup over on the northeastern side. Feels like they've found their footing, found their rhythm just a little bit. That's Geek Fam going down. 4 AM take themselves up to a hefty 8 elimination count. Sitting steady now with Stalwart, also on 8 eliminations.
Influence Kemin moving on through. I say Influence Kemin, it's only Federal now. Sneaking past IHC and their edge guard on the northern side. Alpha 7 as well. Wide spread on that northeast side. Spotting IHC with Mafioso. Ziol Gets away from the spray as the reload forced. Demo tucks it back behind the headland as well. And Alpha 7 not really going to find too much value other than suppressing IHC from swinging out on the north.
4am, fortunately, lost one player, but they do get the circle now. There's a very good chance, though. I think for 4am, if they get a massive game at the start of the day here, it'll see them in a position where they can fight out for that first place spot. Inco, though, still alive with Vitali. So good at just remaining in these games. Some more shots coming through. 4am takes this up to a 9 elimination game. Set themselves now over 100 points total.
IHC pushing in from the north. Corralled by Alpha 7 somewhat, and directly into the lines of fire with 4 angry men, who have been a massive force. As you'd said, 9 eliminations so far in the game, but they will hold their line. This hillside has been their sanctuary for so long.
It's a really difficult position to push up on. It is quite difficult to hold, though, as 3. When you have 4 players, it is infinitely easy just to keep players off that position. But WWX has to hold the southern side all by himself. So if Stalwart, DRS, wanted to swing in on that side, he'd have to hold it basically a solo gunman, because as soon as he goes down, they must weaken that northern side, which is another really good point to just crash upon. So it's going to be difficult for him. It will have to be perfect play here onwards for them. They want to hold this position, have a really dominant game going forward. But the eastern side has to clear itself up first. A7, DRS, T2K all still going.
Oh, nade from Legends! Gets value on that one. 2 knocks pound, and DRS cut in half for the moment. Legend looks to burn them away with that Molotov as well. Rules and Delta, they're not moving. Are they just going to give this one up? It seems like they might. Killer, very, very tricky to get him back up, but that is massive. A solo player from T2K could have just changed the tide of the northeast side of this fight. Alpha 7 now with so much more room, and they've already started to take care of IHC on their western edge.
Yeah, IHC getting absolutely blasted apart at the moment. Alpha 7 really has just rocked this entire lobby's lives. The sound of resounding grenades, shrapnel all over the place, with Alpha 7's signature all over it. 4am, though, again, still hesitant to move. Pretty sure the circle's going to come down towards him. Not really much point in being too aggressive at this point, especially with 9 eliminations. You know, finishing this game out with second or a first place, ideally, would be perfect for them.
Legend spotted. Rules with a little bit of retribution, and they will be able to res for a 3rd player on the DRS roster, but that leaves Alpha 7 at the advantage. Inco, still alive, by the way, in this engagement.
I mean, this is just typical Inco, honestly. I think that they're just able to slip past the defenses and senses of a lot of these teams. And he's even taking knocks over down towards Pika, leaving top as the final player. Vitali will finish off Pika with the help of 4am. And now top might be looking up that way, up to a 6th place finish if Vitali went down now. For 4am, this is a really good circle. The fact that it isolates WWX's position on that south side means there's less position to have to take care of on this hillside, which means they can consolidate their forces a little bit more. They do need to wait for that to happen, though. There will be a little time. But with IHC and Alpha 7 in a chokehold, in a lock, which Alpha 7 is going to want to break right now, this could be difficult.
A double roll up, close range, up and personal. The old falls.
Goodness me.
Mafioso shots from the heavens as well. Take them out, but Mythic gets knocked and flushed as 4am pinch another one away. Revo gets the heel off. Mythic down and out.
Honestly, such a good play from Alpha 7. Such a good play from 4am, being able to take that point and flush. That means the team's down to 3. Their main advantage coming into this last circle, the fact that they were at 4 players total, really, really well played. Look at the sniper lineup on 4am as well. AWM available, Car 98K, a Mini 14. They have the long-range advantage. They can just get involved in all these fights. Vitali, though, 2 for 2, over on top of Stalwart. And that'll be them laddering up to a 4th place at least.
Guaranteed 4th place. Points starting to rack up for Vitali. With their main competition going down early as well, it's going to be tricky here. Comes the roll-up for Alpha 7 for Angry Men. They do have a lot of snipers, but they've got a lot of firepower in those close-range fights too. Just Revo as the backline has been isolated. Revo moves forwards, a third of his HP, and that's swiftly snuffed out. 4 Angry Men are dominant here in the open fields. 4 Angry Men with more to do though against Vitali and DRS.
I mean, I was saying from day 2 that the way 4AM was playing on day 1, I felt like it was in the back pocket for them. Vitali steps out for just a second. WWX with the M4 just sends the bullets in. Now the Inco down up to 15 eliminations now. AWM still in pocket. DRS, I still think that this is a team that can challenge versus 4AM. Circle will definitely be a big factor in this last engagement.
This is massive for 4AM, not only because of the difference that they have in points to the top of the tables, but also to stop DRS as well, who are a team ahead of them. If 4 Angry Men can convert here, it's huge.
30 points is what we were asking for. Right now, 15 eliminations, a potential 3 more. 33 points total would be huge. WWX brings out the big boy. The AWM looks over towards that direction. Unfortunately, with DRS, with a circle at their back, they will have to move forward. So a knock at this point of the game, this stage of the game, it's not going to be too influential. Ching Chen picks himself up a vehicle. They know they'll need cover going into this last fight. Through the smoke. This is so smart from 4AM. They really are setting up this end game very well. They're already inside the next circle, which was their biggest problem, John.
2 players move forward now. Ching Chen is given that platform to move in. The movement from 4AM is disciplined now. Span, WWX, Ching Chen on a wide split. Span repositioning now, wants to get a little bit tighter on in, and that puts all of them in the next circle.
This smoke usage is disgusting. And honestly, at this point in time, I think 4AM's kind of played the winning move, right? This is almost checkmate. With them in such a defensive area, and DRS now forced to walk down the hill, coming into zone 9. But that's a great refrag, a great re-knock onto Ching Chen. Now in a 1v2, it's going to be difficult for him to pick them back up again. Span has to put the hurt down over towards DRS. That's going to require a first aid kit, but he finds another. Down to 1 in just Yante. Span's taking it all home by himself.
15 eliminations so far. They want to rack up 18 blank. It will be a monumental 33-point game for them. And Delta is going to go down. A 16th point on the elimination card for them now this game. And Ching Chen is rezzed. WWX has the nade, launching it on forwards. Behind the tree it goes long, and Renox rules. Gianti now, the last on the menu. And 4AM are hungry. They want to take it here. They want to take it now. And the top of the tables is not safe.
A disgusting game coming through from 4AM. It's only a matter of time. Not losing members early on seems to be the key for them, but they got themselves into a perfect spot. A long run for them with that plane path up towards North George. Played it perfectly out to the edge. What a way to set this one up, John. Lovely to see.
We said today anything can happen. Anybody in the top side of those tables can take this one, can move on up when it counts, and that has been proven. Match 1 here. We've still got 5 more to go.
I mean, with that 93-point mark, I think that sits them in a really, really good position now. I think it's 126 points. I think Inco is still ahead, but regardless, that is what they wanted. Right at the beginning of the day, it's to be in a position where the chase is on for them. And again, like you said, taking down DRS there, not allowing them to get a huge amount of points off the back of the chicken dinner, means that it's another team that might have been ahead of them that is a little bit more hampered by a chicken dinner they could have maybe got. Span with the MVP, of course, that had to happen there, John. This guy, 1100 damage with the help of WWX, but look at the damage across the board. It's so even, with Good Shell going down early. The fact that all these players put in the work is astonishing to me.
And they traded that off. Huge, huge value for the position that they held.
Yeah.
They got there so early as well.
Set up off the back of it. I mean, taking all these long-range weapons, in which case they will just
adding to these fights, getting involved just a little bit, maybe as an afterthought sometimes, maybe as just one knock, one elimination here and there. That was more than enough that by the time they got to that end game, you know, Alpha 7 taking that one elimination away from them, sticking them down to just 3 players, meant as soon as Svan found that backstop player, they had no one to res him. They had no one else there. It was a Hail Mary from the 2 in front. He basically dealt with it by himself. Honestly, 4AM was on another level this game, but 4AM as a whole really played that game out super smartly. We haven't had a global finals in PUBG Mobile history where we haven't had a Chinese team in the conversation at the top. We've seen right now that 4AM wanted to correct that. They've pushed hard. They've got an 18 elimination game here, Blank. They've managed to do so much, but it's not over yet. There's still more to do.
What an absolutely unbelievable game coming in from 4 Angry Men. They put on a show coming into day number 3, and that is the strongest game that we've seen so far in the PMGC Grand Finals. 33 points, Max.
I think it's fair to say 33 points, that's going to help you pretty significantly. 4 Angry Men. We could talk about this game, I think, for ages, 7. The execution was close to maybe even we could say flawless. Yes. They were not in a great position. They had to push against DRS that all the information, such a good defensive position, and yet they just pushed their way, their way forward, step by step by step, and the moment they're in there, it is not going to go away from them.
Little by little, just inching up, but I do have to appreciate what they did even before putting themselves into that situation to be in the end game. They were able to control the outside of the circle. They were able to take on fights with GeekFan. They were able to take on fights with Alpha 7 when Alpha 7 decided to make on that push, and they held them up. Yeah, they did end up losing 1 player, but it wasn't enough. And I mean, 18 eliminations, come on. Could you ask for anything better?
We were looking so much at the late game, but they started off so strong in the early game as well. Maybe didn't have the screen time, but at phase 3, 4, they were already at 9 eliminations.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, right, they cleared the western side, they cleared themselves at GeekFam, Alpha 7 also, I think even 5 Flux to some extent they did it, and Svan, the MVP of 2 years ago over in Dubai for the Grand Finals of 2020, and he's going for the title once again. 7 eliminations, that puts him back in the MVP race.
Earlier today, I got a chance to talk to him. You
were
were next to me, and I was asking him, what does it feel like being back at PMGC? He was super happy to be here, and what he loved the most is the energy from the crowd. He said that in China he doesn't really get to experience that, but every single time, whether he gets eliminated or whether he gets an elimination, he feels that crowd and it hypes him up and it gets him more excited.
I'm thinking of something. Powerboy said he's going to be in top 5, then top 5. Svan said he's going to get himself potentially 2 to 3 chicken dinners. It's looking that way. I want to ask them the lottery numbers. They cannot lie.
Whoa! That is crazy
Second
because
place.
we were talking about Nova right now. They're not even in the top 8 right now. Instead of this 4 Angry Men in 2nd place, 7. What?
I am speechless. By the way, Inco Gaming, Vitali, what a performance for your team when they needed a performance out of you. For him to be able to stay alive that long, and on top of that, he did have to stay for a long time, but when he got a chance, he decided to get some eliminations, and I thought that was massive for them. Alpha 7, I talked about it earlier too, that was a team that needed to start off hot. They did just that, and with Nova, it's a big surprise actually. They ended up losing a player super early on with Frozen to T2K.
And Nova pulled off their typical rotation we tend to see from them, going from that Gatka split over to the Q position over to the east of George Pole. Unfortunately, teams, they're going to start to learn from you a little bit. They're going to know that your rotation is pretty much possible to shut down. And that's what they did. T2K sent 1 player taking himself a one-on-one fight versus, I believe it was Frozen. Eliminate that player, and then you're already hurting the numbers of Nova and struggling to get himself any points in that game.
We definitely saw them losing players on rotate. Going over to A7 because they were the other big contender in that late game area, right? They had such a good position. What happened?
Talk about it. Do we want to? Yeah, you know what? Let's actually talk about it as we do have Miramar coming up, and I can't wait to see who's going to be winning that Miramar. But with Alpha 7, I love the split that they had in Circle 4, but towards the end of Circle 5, when you have the same split and when you are that spread out, I didn't actually like that. I felt like they were getting away with it. They were getting super lucky. I did appreciate the push that they did on IHC to be able to eliminate them. How Mafioso was able to hold that top angle, and it worked out for them. I felt like they were trying to duplicate that against Sport Argument, and it just completely backfired.
Yeah, the longer they held on to that split, my hype turned into like worry and concern. I was like, you guys are maybe stretching that split a little bit too long in time, but at the end of the day, they still were able to get themselves a lot of points in this match to remain in that top position. But man, S2G, one of the top Miramar performers right now. If they can perform right now in this match, they can claim their position back on the podium.
They're definitely going to need to perform. I mean, with just putting up 1 point in the last match, it was interesting because that 1 point came from Inco Gaming. We were like, okay, maybe S2G is going to be in first place after this match, and then completely backfire.
But Nova. That's my point.
But Nova
and Miramar. It's pretty good.
Talk about a team that we just saw in a great position as well. That kind of just fed off there in the late game. It's DRS, and I was expecting them to perform well today in Miramar as well.
I wouldn't really call it a fall off, to be honest, for DRS. As Black mentioned multiple times during that game, they are so good, so strong at clearing the edge. Like that G2 split gets so much information. The moment they have one team, they know we need to clear out this team to gain even more space on the edge of the circle. Regroup, full send it. I think they cleared like 2 teams at one point relatively easily too. And I'm telling you, they are a silent team. Sure, maybe not a team to get chicken dinners, but they get enough points where they could be in first place.
I appreciated their passionate at one point when Alpha 7 was taking shots at them, and I think Alpha 7 knocked one of their players. They decided to just back off a little bit more and let Alpha 7 be aggressive over somebody else. It worked out wonders for them. But that is Erangel. I mean, that's a team that has 2 wins in Erangel. I want to see what this team can do in Miramar, because just playing like that in Erangel is not going to be able to cut it for first place.
Talking about Miramar, let's look at some of the teams to watch from both our analysts. We'll have them. Actually, talking about teams to watch. Oh, there we have it. DRS on both of you guys' schedule. That's superb, actually, transition, because we were just talking about them. Maybe going over to go like Starwood, though, because I felt like they had a good chance in the last game as well. Going over to Miramar, that's your pick?
Yeah, I still have the jersey. It's a little bit cold right now, so it's heating them up. It's heating me up right now. I do appreciate Stalwart, but yeah, I do think that Stalwart can be looking really good. They were looking really aggressive.
Yeah.
I think they've been a little bit too silent, and that was your question at the start of the show, right? Which is, can they potentially build that momentum on that second and third place ending day 2? And seemed like they were looking aggressive. Sure, not a podium finish in that game, but for me it shows that there were some changes that were made, and I did talk to also Senator. They did make iterations for today, and I'm happy to see it.
Yeah, I mean, Top was going absolutely hammer the last game. I think 5 or 6 eliminations on his own. Going over to you, 7. 4AM is on your pick, and I mean, they just had a phenomenal game. You think that's going to continue to Miramar?
Yeah, I actually picked them way before they ended up winning
that last match.
When they were doing so well, I just controlled the other circle, and I think that's something that they're able to actually do really great in Miramar, that they have just gotten unlucky in certain situations. They got super blessed by that circle in Erangel. I want to see if they do end up getting blessed again, if they're going to be taking full advantage. I mean, to have 3 players over 1k damage, that just goes to show that they were being proactive, and I did pick DRS because of what I just said earlier. They perform really well in Erangel, but I want to see them perform really well in Miramar as well.
And especially Skinn's fan gave himself 7 eliminations on that game. I cannot tell you how good of a storyline that would be. MVP 2 years ago loses the MVP title to Order of Brethren in the PEL to reclaim it back over here in Jakarta, Indonesia, in this season of the Grand Finals.
100%. Talking about one of the teams that's also at the very top. They just had the first break, but also went out as the very first team. S2G. Any thoughts about S2G coming up?
No. No, I think they just got caught with their pants down. I think it's kind of like a situation that happened. They were trying to go for River Cross. Wolves were there. I think even Stalwart third party that fight. So unfortunately, it was a smart rotation, because it's always rough. As we know, when you have that phase 1, phase 2 circle, you've got that river play. It's about a 50-50 split. It's always going to make it really rough to pull off those rotations. So I'm not going to hold it against them. They were already looking so comfortable at the start of the day. But just don't allow it to happen too often. Like, rivers are a big issue, so just be careful.
Going over to another team that's also at the very, well, not also very bottom, but it is at the very, very bottom, actually, is Vampire. They also, again, lost Swap X very early on. Any hopeful
I'm not even going to let you finish that,
guys?
They're absolutely done. Whatever changes they were trying to do yesterday, it's just not going to happen at this point. I think the team... What I expect out of them is at one point today we might see some madness, and I felt like it's gonna be in the last game where the skill is gonna come through, right? They're gonna realize, you know what, at this point we got nothing to lose. We're definitely not even gonna be able to make it to first place, top 3 or top 5. So let's try to get some highlights. Let's try to make ourselves look good here at PMGC Grand Finals in Jakarta.
I think what's happening, they already announced that we're going to be having PMWI back in Riyadh. They're already preparing for that one. At this point, PMGC is done. Let's just look to try and be the back-to-back champions of PMWI, which would be a good achievement, but as you said, sit down, finals are done.
Yeah. I was very surprised none of you guys were talking about D2K going into the next match, because they also were in a, well, not all of them, but at least Legend had kind of a big moment there with this double nade, and I was expecting them especially to be very good today.
Yeah, they were one of my teams to watch actually, so I'm intrigued to see if they can do potentially more. Knowing the power, DRS looking good. Can we also see T2K being good? I'd love to see it.
Whether or not that is going to happen, the answer is...
We are into, I think we're into, oh yeah, here we are. We are into Miramar for game number 2 on the day, match number 14. Only 5 matches remain now. What a game from 4 AM in that last one. That was a massive, massive jump to be able to leap on up, but the crowd's getting settled for the Miramar match. The first one of the day, the first of 2 that we'll see, and the rest is yet to come. Nova, they lost a player early in that last match and didn't really get going in that one. Inco as well, losing players early. They did manage to get up to 3rd though.
I mean, that's Inco in a nutshell, right? They were able to somehow find a way into those final circles, those final zones, still pick up some points here and there. We'll get into our match very shortly though. So do a quick rundown. A little bit of stock checking. Crowd obviously really, really excited to be here. And I'm also really excited to be here just because of how amazing the crowd has been. Hello my friend, my AirPod buddy.
Look at that, get those selfies in. Fantastic. Everyone needs to take a record of when they were here, when 4 AM did
the
that.
only time when you're allowed to take a selfie by using the front camera. Taking a photo of the old screen. Honestly, this should be a good map though, and again, an awkward playing path over from El Pozo to Junkyard. Match 14, second match of our day. 3. Some of these players and teams starting to really bring up the heat just a little bit here, John. Starting to head towards that top side up to 4 AM's absolutely glorious performance there on our previous map of Angle. Asking to see them nice and happy towards the top of the standing. A really good chance to bring out something more. S2G obviously not having the best of games there whatsoever for Angle. But yesterday it was Miramar where they picked up the vast majority of their points and where they played out very comfortably. So we'll see if they can do that again here on match 2. I was saying that it is that saving grace. So you come to match 5, you are S2G, you have a really confident run to actually pick up a massive win at that point of the day.
DRS denied at the final turn. They had a pretty big game themselves as well in the previous game, so it is very much tenuous. I think at the moment there's 4 teams in the lead when you bring DRS into the fold, with Inco just that little bit ahead of everyone else. Alpha 7 though looking to try and take down a major competitor here, 4 Angry Men, with a bit of a challenge. Iron sights on this. Not super easy to control, plenty of kick for Mythic, and doesn't really land too many of those shots either, Blank. He will not be able to curtail 4 Angry Men early on this drop. The vehicles gained and in operation for 4 Angry Men.
Good stuff there. Central circle as well, so the playing path not as awkward as we maybe have hoped. It does mean that Los Minas del Sur, Playa de Mar, Chumacera, a little bit inaccessible, but Torre Armada, Campo Militar, Tierra Bronca, La Cobreria most likely will be taken up by some of these teams. That's a tongue twister and a half for myself. I didn't do any of those earlier because I can't do tongue twisters, sadly. I just stay out of dodge of any dodgy words myself.
I've just got to say them really fast, that's the issue.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't have to do that.
I know.
I just keep it nice and chill, nice and happy. I bring that saxophone vibe to the broadcast.
Irish wristwatch.
You bring the electric
Irish wristwatch.
Cello to the broadcast.
Do you think? I reckon I could rock a cello.
Yeah, I think so.
Give me, 16, 17 years of practice. I'll let you know.
Give me 1 second on the saxophone, and I'm ready to go.
Or the saxoboom.
Well, they do
I
say...
can do the saxoboom.
All right, Jack Black, calm
Yeah.
down. They do say, though, music is more about what you don't play. So the fact that I've never played the cello up until now,
Yeah.
I feel pretty much makes me a master, right?
Well, I think that, the best times when you cast is when you aren't talking.
That was so mean. That was so incredibly mean. And you spell. There you go.
There you go. Look, we've all got our faults.
Really poor personal hygiene, Black.
What do you mean? This morning I was blasting on the old deodorant and aftershave. I feel like I'm a smell sensation.
That is not personal. Okay, that's not personal. That doesn't count as personal.
Yeah, that's all I use though.
You got
right? That's what everyone does.
You haven't showered, have you?
No, I absolutely have.
You are the most mucky boy.
Soak in the rain. Look, man, it's Miramar. There's not much water around here.
True.
What can I say? What can I say?
These teams are certainly going to be thirsty for victory. There you
That
have
is correct.
that. Inco still at the top, though. 10 points clear with 5 teams in that front-running section now. Godlike Stalwart.
Quite quickly.
To be fair, Godlike Stalwart did do fairly well in that previous game as well, with the fights that they were able to take, launching themselves further up to boot. IHC, T2K, Nova, all the way even down to like Butteram and Wolves. I mean, they are not out of it fully, but it is getting towards that way.
Yeah, it's pretty tough now. I think now our front runners of the pack are going to be quite difficult to catch up towards. It'll be very unlikely that Inco, 4AM, A7, S2G, DRS, not one of these 5 teams is going to gain a profit on one of these games. Before it was a little bit more likely that it could happen, and it did happen. We saw S2G go out early, we saw Inco not get a huge amount of points at the start of the day, which is kind of their signature move, right? So now it's much less likely to happen because instead of only having 2 teams that have to do badly so you can catch up, now you have to hope for 5 teams doing badly, which is way, way, way out of the realms of possibility here at this point in time, especially when all 5 of these teams we know are absolutely marvellous at PUBG Mobile on their separate, unique ways too. I think Inco has their very interesting central playstyle, in which case, they wait until that very much end game to pick up some big points. It would be super interesting to see how many points of Inco is purely ranking points overall. 4AM, great team when it comes to just that coordinated play. Alpha 7, just a hot streak within them. They are aggressive like nothing else. A lion inside the lobby. S2G, another one of those teams that is able to really play well coordinated as a squad. And DRS, one of our edge teams inside the lobby. So everyone's got like a very, very different type of play style, but they all play it to the best here in the PMGC, which shows you can play absolutely anything and still work out with it. And I think that is something that is great to take away from this PMGC, is that we've got a lot of individual characteristics with these teams at the top. So you don't have to play it one particular way, you just have to play it your way.
First blood goes over to Kelsey from S2G. I feel like you're talking about similarities and differences in playstyle. The most similar in the top 5, I would probably say, would be 4 Angry Men and S2G.
Yep, I agree.
I think that's kind of what you alluded to there. And whilst it is slightly different, I feel like S2G maybe stay a little bit further on the outside for a lot of the game. Well, not a lot of the game. They sort of come through in the mid-game, whereas 4 Angry Men maybe a little bit more central leaning. That might be where they differ. Although not this game.
That's just me pointing at the map for John. Like,
but I normally see 4AM in the centre a lot more frequently than I see S2G.
I think for 4AM, I'm just throwing
water
on the
all
floor.
everywhere.
Look, I we said that there's no water on Miramar, so there's no water in Indonesia now either, for you at least. Yeah, I think for 4AM and S2G, I would generally agree with you. I think what you're going off is mainly Erangel overall, because Erangel, 4AM does tend to move a little bit earlier towards the circle.
Yeah.
I think what they've been having difficulty with is making those movements, making those rotations, and they're quite speedy with it and aggressive. That is interesting. That's very interesting. And oftentimes it does lead to them getting absolutely demolished by some of these teams within the circle. Alter Ego, though, Fnatic hits the next one. I mean, I was a little bit happy about it on the first, but that is true elation coming through for Alter Ego. Getting the second onto Alpha 7 is a really, really big piece of news.
not only in terms of Alter Ego taking on one of the top 3 teams, but also the fact that Alpha 7 is down to 2 already here on Miramar when they're fighting for their lives in that top 3. This is great news for the rest of that top 5 set of teams, right? They now have an opportunity to thin down the numbers in that lineup to try and open up a gap, turn up the heat. S2G already with a point in a central location. Hopefully they can hold on to it, have some power there. The Turkish squad wanting to have the honour of defending their title next year in Turkey.
Would be the absolute cherry on the cake there for S2G to take it all the way home. Max is back on the desk once again.
What's he got there? He's got goodies.
He's got a special little goodie. Is he going to show them to us? I don't know.
I don't know. We'll find out. What's he got there? What have you got there, Max?
He's got some BTR merch.
We'll find out later.
Repping the old Indonesia. Fair play to him. With that, the BTR merch not only brings Max a lot of happiness, it also brings Alter Ego the centre of the circle.
Fantastic to see as, yeah, absolutely, that hard west shift coming on through. The Indonesian roster will have to hold off against some pretty fearsome foes, though, as S2G swinging on the north.
Good position. Very difficult spot this is overall to play. There's a lot of space here, which is really inaccessible. Down towards Monte Nuevo on that southeast side, fielded area. The southeast of El Pozo, more fielded area. Last-ditch attempt resorts there on that side of the map. Down towards the south side of Credit Field, a place that HVP would play very, very often. The S2G would tend to kind of challenge them out on and not really succeed. And it's what would cause them huge amounts of problems. They've tried to get up towards it, but Alter Ego are already on that position now. 4AM loses arguably their frontman, their lead singer, here in the PUBG Mobile PMGC.
There's too many P's.
No, don't talk about it. Don't even mention it. In the PMGC, Svan going down in match 2. This is a bit of an awkward one for him. Now 4AM have to play just the rest of the instruments here. Try and work it through. Nenebete taking up a bunch of damage, but doesn't go down, doesn't fall just yet.
Slides through the staves of Nova. Keeps himself out of treble, keeping with the music theme.
I thought it was good.
I liked it too.
Oh, okay.
Vitali doesn't know. He is going to be pretty discordant with that one. And ends up reaching the crescendo in the stage 2. Middle of it. That was a stretch. That was a stretch.
That was a stretch. That was a bit of a stretch. Anyway, straight back into the game. Vampire Esports are obviously struggling. We talked to Satani just a little bit earlier, saying that ideally they'd love to be in top 8 by the end of today. I don't know how easy that's going to be for them. There will have to be a real turn-up in performance. The fact that they weren't able to get too many points on the start of the day, well, I'll take that back. They did get 2 points. I just don't know if it qualifies as too many points. GeekFam, also on our screens at the moment, that's towards that northern side. I think they fell down quite a bit right now. I think GeekFam were on a pretty hot start for themselves. They looked good. You know, dragging themselves out from PMPL, moving up towards PMGC with this core roster. Look strong, look promising. Fortunately for them, I think there are just a different type of beast in this PMGC as a whole. Nova over towards that eastern side. Influence coming in through San Martin. Stalwart as well in this circle. Alter Ego still holding on to a very strong position with high ground. A very typical position as well. And Inco, dead center. Again, I think we're looking at the Inco game. This is just a case of racking up those rankings, not putting too much attention towards those elimination points. This is not a strategy that will work next year, though. And that's something to consider right now. This is not a strategy that will work next year. The ranking points will be too low, and they're spread out much thinner as we head down the table. So elimination points become all the more important. So I think teams at the moment you're looking at who are prioritizing, you know, getting those high elimination point games, getting those big chicken dinners, these are the teams that will be looking good going into next year.
You know what would be interesting is to take a look at what the points totals would have been if we'd have implemented the points change before this tournament, right? To see how these teams would have fared if we had changed it to that 10-point chicken dinner before, and maybe it could have changed some things up. Maybe I'll have to run those numbers afterwards, Blanca. If anyone out there is watching, they can tweet them at me, and I'll be very grateful for that. But for now, Inco still sit atop the pile with a 10-point lead in match 14. Like, something else that's very interesting when you take a look at the numbers is the fact that nobody right now has more than a 10-point average. We normally see at least 2 or 3 teams at that point at this stage.
Yeah, what we're seeing at the moment is just a real even split between all these teams. And again, this is what it comes down to. You'll see this happen maybe in PMPLs, regional clashes, or PNWI. But when you really do cut down to the leanest and the meanest of teams here in the PMGC, you are certainly going to see a lobby that maybe isn't able to hit that 10-point average just because there are so many teams winning, there are so many teams that are making the right choices, and it is just a case of if you get the right circle, you have to win within that right circle. And there are a lot of teams at the moment that are getting those right circles and then are converting those right circles into wins. So this might not be a case of, you know, any team particularly being terrible, but just some teams leading ahead by certain games where they don't get the right circle, but they're able to get a 5th place now and again with some eliminations here and there. It's really just chopping away at that points total time and time again and never letting it up. And I think that's what 4AM's been able to do a lot. Alpha 7 has a different approach to that. They're a bit more momentum based. You know, they burst out from nowhere, get some big points, then they fade away just a little bit. They always bring it back. Inco, on the other hand, a ranking points-based team, 100%. A little bit of circle luck throughout this tournament. Regardless, they've done a lot with it, and I'd still be happy to see them take the grand title home.
The drums bring the circle to keep Potato in it on the high ground position that he occupies on the northwestern edge. DRS potential to move in behind that position and wrest control back, but Potato, if he spots that, doesn't want to take the fight, there is a massive opportunity to just jump off with a vehicle, roll over to the rest of the squad, just further south.
You can certainly disengage from this one, down towards the rest of your team. Alpha 7 though, damn rude. From Geek Fam, looking to finish them off, but it's S2G from the wrong way.
Uh-oh, Reaver has to evacuate and will be cut down in the process. Alpha 7, 16th place, they're eliminated. Geek Fam stay alive, gets to cover, but there are shots coming through from across the road. S2G doing hella damage, having an impact here, and racking up the points where they can. That's one of our top 5 teams out already, Blank.
Alpha 7 certainly having their fadeaway game right now. Not good for them. Only 4 more matches after this one. It's not really a case at this point in time of losing that hope anymore. You're going to have to keep pumping those numbers. If you pump those numbers right at the end of the day, it might not be enough, because by that time a team like Inco or 4AM, S2G might have already built up that consistent average that they're so far ahead of you that one chicken dinner is not going to cut it. It would have to be one hell of a chicken dinner to make something like that happen. We've seen it before. Be a great conclusion to PMGC, but is it likely? No.
DRS slowly encroaching on the high ground territory on the northwestern side, but Potato, he's well aware of it, and Influence Kemen might actually force their hand slightly. Rules going down, getting flushed out as well by Alter Ego. Really quite big, brings them down to 3, and Influence Kemen can start to move in behind. 4 players alive, and they have really gone for a wide swing here. Potato, if he can just stop DRS from pushing forwards, he can play them off against one another. Influence Kemen, position aware of now. Killer moves in with the auto shotgun, but backs off. Don't want to go for the trades just yet. Federal and Lil Boy close by, and Gianti nearly gets the better end of the deal there. Potato not chiming in just yet. Kayovsky is lit up as well, and Influence Kemen's push has some trouble.
Nade around the side, beautiful nade there coming from Giante. Little Boy goes down, fair amount of damage towards Law and Federal. Can't really afford to get the med kits off just yet, because there's more nades, more damage coming through that way. Alter Ego, Potato might want to get involved on this one. Delta looks forward towards the smoke. Federal all by himself. UMP looks to shoot them through the smoke here. Can't find it. That's Influence Kevin down to 1 player. DRS taking them apart systematically.
Oh dear, they will fall all the way on out. 15th place and no eliminations. That's big news for DRS, picking up 4 elimination points as well. They are 1 point behind Alpha 7 now. How much further can they go? Inco with a challenge. 3 players alive from them after losing 1 early. Nova will be rocking up on them. With 1 player down, they are at a numbers equality. But that res is available on Jimmy.
Anybody making some good shots there. I did like them trying to angle them over the top of that ridge side. Hit some soft flesh where he can. Fortunately, not quite enough, but now Inco's in a pretty tight spot.
Over on the east side. With the backstop, Potato still holding on the high ground. 4 angry men further out west and will need to push on in. 4 angry men probably with the toughest time of the teams at the top right now. Blank, Alpha 7 having already gone out. So I suppose the time is tougher for them, but of the teams still in it of that top 5, 4 angry men with it all to do on this rotation.
We said S2G is one of the best teams here on Miramar. And towards the centre they are right now, a really strong spot. Helping Geek Fam take down Alpha 7. During that initial push, it will be hard to remove them from this compound. 4AM, like you said, tough rotation ahead. Over some rocky terrain towards Alter Ego's position. Potato over on Sandhawk, we saw how effective his high ground position was. Stalwart will send a grenade to the top towards Nova. Frozen already falling. Looks like a nade is in the hand and the pocket of Nova themselves. Try to send one back to push action away, but Pika ready one of his own. It looks good as well.
Oh, it's right on the money. Jimmy goes down. Frozen has a teammate now to join him. Action backed off the hillside, and that is the backup that you want. It's Paraboy from a position further up. Order launches one over. Frozen needing to get res now, and Action burning down low. The nades don't burst on target as Paraboy rolls in for the backup. Inco looking to put pressure on now as they take their approach. Top up in the party bus. Smoke blooms over on the Godlike Stalwart position, and that fight is just about to start heating up. Nova caught in the middle of it, but they are all together. They are all as 4 on the eastern side of the circle.
Not much hope for 4AM there. We saw them in a dire situation. More nades still popping their way. Sky only comes up. Good Xiao cannot finish it off, and Ching Chen still going for the heel. Pushes out wide, tries to go for the finish. Will find at least one, but I think Kengzo might just be able to finish this. Possibly, maybe not.
Needs the reload. Ching Chen spotted, and there they go. 4 angry men fall, and now 2 of our top 5 teams are out of this game. DRS still moving in. S2G, Inco, all still with the fight. In the meantime, over on the eastern side, Nova are fighting for their lives, caught between Godlike Stalwart to their north and Inco to their south. Nade over to the back, found peak. Order doesn't go down quite yet. The second peak from top is good, but it's traded off by Jimmy with a micro Uzi at range. Action now last standing in the engagement for Godlike Stalwart. Scry down to the north a lot further. The nades can start to pour in, but instead Nova just want to stay alive as 4 on the eastern edge.
This is ridiculous for Nova at the moment. Almost feels like they picked up a rainbow mushroom there, because they are pretty invincible over on that side, taking that fight off not only towards Stalwart, but also towards Inco. Alex, though, what a disgusting spray coming through. Finds at least 2. IHC really struggling, but Ravenclaw lasts alive for Vampire. Tries to finish off the fight. 1v1 available.
Ziol, last standing, a sliver of HP, first aid allowed, but the res coming through potentially from Ravenclaw. Fluke will be the target, and the res is coming through from both of these rosters. Nova, in the meantime, are still all alive. Looking to try and keep themselves going. Ravenclaw around the edge, has got a teammate back in, and Ziol falls. IHC eliminated, and Vampire stay alive. Jimmy, Order transferred on by top as we hop back on over to the eastern edge. Paraboy with the off angle, not quite able to slow down Godlike Stalwart. Frozen, the only player holding now on the main position from Nova. They'll have to go a little bit further into the circle. A flush onto 1 for top, and Paraboy starts to light it up. No punishment found, no knock in response, but a lot of damage, and there's a beautiful knock coming through from Action. Over the top of the smoke. 2 players up top to deal with now. Order and Frozen both in action. Top not going to take the knock just yet. There's the first spray, and Action is good for more. He takes down Paraboy. He moves up, and he takes down the rest of Nova as well.
The roughest of positions there. But the boys, the deadly duo, still go strong. They make it happen. Not even Nova can bring this duo down. But look at S2G. in a veritable fortress of their own inside this map. Still trucking, Inco in the game too, down to 9 teams remaining, 26 players. A lot of teams, few players still left alive. Fireflux with 4 though, Alter Ego still going strong, looking over towards DRS's position on the north.
Alter Ego have Potato on the high ground. Inco swings wide and does what Nova could not. Becker has been put back just a little bit. Potential to get flushed here. Nenebete close by. Don't really want to step out that maze. Oh my goodness me. Catch Sliver and catches the sliver of HP on Becker for Nenebete. They want to stick this heel. Going down to 2 wouldn't be the greatest right now with a little bit more to go, but unfortunately they don't have a choice in the matter.
Nenebete gets knocked, Action looks to steal. 4 eliminations now to 5. Great stuff. Now just squash remaining. Inco, 0 eliminations on this game, going down in 8th. It's a few points, it's not a lot.
Alter Ego, they have been dominant on this northwestern side. DRS now losing another player down to 2 against the hold from Potato. Action falls and got like Stalwart with them. Inco also taking the knee. And no more will they fight on. DRS and S2G now are 2 remaining teams in the top 5.
Fireflux, 9 eliminations. Really strong game from them. And again, not too far away from 6th place, well 7th place realistically, with 72 points and 9 eliminations on board. 6 teams remaining. I mean, sure, it might not be a top 3 moment, but Fireflux might just be able to reinstate their name as one of the top contenders through this single one. Have to make something big out of it. Alter Ego still in. You can hear the crowd behind us cheering them on. See how far they can go with this.
They've already got 8 eliminations and 4 players alive, with Potato on such a massive, powerful high ground. DRS not taking it from them. The 8 elimination count will be crucial. They want to launch themselves from the bottom of the tables, but Kelsey from S2G, this is a team that has power on Miramar all their own.
S2G, again, compound still, this is why the compound's very strong, especially when you know circles ending around here. It's such a large compound that no matter where the circle shrinks to, a little bit should still just be about in that you can play from. So leaving this area will be difficult for S2G, so I hope they brought vehicles with them. DRS playing on that side.
Reposition up to the top floor from Hamzy. Spots Lutz trying to flow down the hill and we'll be able to get the spray. Hamzy lighting one up and Solus actually under pressure as well. Razy spots a player over towards Alter Ego, knocks Potato up the top of the hill. Unfortunately, that would be a really, really valuable pick, but the blue zone will push them out nonetheless. These shots are going to be so crucial. Keeping that K9 in the hands of Razy could prove to be a game changer as Silas sits Ponbit back.
I think realistically a lot of these teams just have to wait right now. Fnatic finds Ravenclaw, that's another 1-9 elimination so far. Fnatic, an absolute roll at the moment, 7 eliminations, all is lonesome for him. Razy, this K9, disgusting weapon. I think for Alter Ego, patience is the name of the game. S2G's life is going to become hellish when they have to leave this compound. I think they realize they need some more points, so going through these eliminations, risky, but also rewarding.
They don't have many options, and Ponbit will look to start the scout. They have to move up to the ridge line. Razy looses another bullet. Silas as well with angles over towards Fireflux, who are split right now and burning the candle at both ends.
To be fair, this ridge side, well, this little ditch that Alter Ego is able to play underneath the road, actually fairly decent. Getting Ponbit down there immediately whilst the other team is probably thinking about rotating. That's fantastic.
Cool. I don't even think Kelsey knew there was a player there who was just shooting out towards a buggy. Saw the tag and went, oh, okay, I'll pick that one up. S2G, 4 players alive and still going strong. Ponbit being the forward guard for Alter Ego, the other 4-player roster.
Sending smokes down the train now. Allowing the rest of Alter Ego to move up. Move through. Some high ground potentially. Circle moves a bit further away from S2G. That is absolutely disastrous for Alter Ego. At this point in time, they needed no casualties coming through. Getting up towards the high ground position was fantastic for them. S2G will have to move on the next zone, but Alter Ego, they need to play their cards right now. They need to be calm, they need to be patient, they need to breathe this one out.
Like a spotted Silas, picking up points for the squad. Tonight's last for Geek Fam, a team that we haven't seen too much of, and S2G need to do the work now, Black.
It has to happen now, purely because of the open ground in front of them. With one player already taken down, taken low off of Hamzy G. Potato, a nade over the top, a good lob. Fnatic still on knee, looks to be picked up. Potato is providing them a little bit of support, and outside the play zone go down DRS.
10 eliminations now on the board for Alter Ego in the final zone. Shots over towards the high ground there from Silas, but S2G are going to have to leave into the sightlines of everybody else looking their way. Fnatic gets knocked. There's a crossfire established, but out go the smokes and out go the vehicles. S2G with a fast crack across the road. Razy goes down, opened up on as well. The rest of Alter Ego looking to finish it here and now. Silas is cut out of the fray, and now the players at the back are all they have left. S2G are gone. It's only Geek Fam. The rests are available, and 4 players from Alter Ego, a high ground position, and that's all they need. Alter Ego take it home. A massive, massive chicken dinner. Make that 2.
What a way to finish that one out. 2 chicken dinners at the PMGC 2022. An unreal result. They are giving it out in droves for the crowds, this PMGC. Really taking it all the way. What a good crossfire they set up as well for that end game. They knew that S2G might have had their number if they were given a single place to look, so they do not do it. It requires gumption and determination and a little bit of ballsiness, to be quite honest with you, to make those plays, to make those movements. But they knew what they had to do to set up for the win, and they just went for it. That is just a case of, like, everything has to go right. If it doesn't, we don't take this chicken dinner. But Alter Ego, they just do not let it up. Really big chicken dinner there for them as well. We'll get them a whole hunk of points. That should see them towards the top end of the lobby, towards that top 8.
Fnatic got the MVP title there, but I feel like Potato was so pivotal for them. Stopped 2 teams on the northern side from moving on in. Influence came in and DRS. Forced DRS around the side instead of the high ground.
I mean, for Potato, we've seen it twice now. You give him high ground, he'll work with it. That is just the way it works. I think that he prefers to be up in the clouds. You know, that lack of oxygen gives him a sense of calm and concentration, which is great to see. I like to kind of watch that. I like Alter Ego when they have this particular play style they like to move from. But again, a very, very strong position. It's quite difficult to hold on that position as well for a long time. They had several spots they were holding in the beginning as well, up towards that compound, up towards the field. They moved from there. They still decided where they wanted to go next. They knew they couldn't take those fights with S2G, so they just quietly trying to finish off, conclude some of these fights around the actual battlefield before waiting for S2G, knowing that at some point they would have to leave, and it's just bare ground for S2G. They knew they had to get as much done as possible, and I do think it's a slight mistake on S2G's part. They were far too focused over towards Vampire Esports, but realistically, they should have 100% had angles over towards Alter Ego as soon as that Zone 8 came through, because they would have to move. They had to make a rotation.
With that game, that put DRS and S2G ahead as well. Late game performances for these 2 rosters to push on up, but the big news here is that Alter Ego play in the rarefied air up on the high ground and take home a big chicken dinner.
And welcome back. Let's take a look at the match rankings. Alter Ego Limex with 28 points. Oh my goodness! Is that one hell of a performance?
Exactly what we needed from the boys here to try and put himself back in the race towards the top, and 7. They played such a good position. Potato, the absolute monster on that heel top position, clearing off the position away from DRS especially, and giving that information over to all of his teammates.
Being able to fend off people, and on top of that, I love the rotation they did end up, especially at the end. They ended up getting one of the players knocked. He ended up getting revived too, and it worked out wonderful.
Yes.
They didn't wait long enough. That's what I'm talking about. The execution is there for this team, and we're starting to see it. SG, by the way, with 16 points. That's going to be nice for them being able to bounce back from that horrible first game.
DRS also with a great performance going into this match. Again, we just saw them in the late game and the game before, and they have done it again. They're racking up points right now.
I mean, you said it during that game, I think, 7, right? That you were saying, oh, they could win, and I was like, the game, and you're like, no, the event, they could win the grand final. And with results consistently coming their way like this, I gotta say, there's a clear possibility this could be an Bali champions after this grand final. This huge, but looking at the extra stats. Kelsey, my boy, from Turkey, looking good, but...
By the way, the only reason why I said that about DRS is because they answered the main question that I had right before this match. Are they going to be able to perform outside of Erangel? And they just proved that, and that's when I was like, okay, you know what? This team can definitely take the championship home.
Talking about teams taking home championships, we're going to talk about Nova. What was that against Goal Like Soul? It looked like they had it in their bags, and then it all turned around.
2 words. Top action. You don't mess with them, okay? You got to eventually. Yeah. It was not the best push from Stalwart. Yes. I think we were both like definitely having some criticisms for what God like Stalwart did at that time. And Paraboy, he was like super proactive. He's like, okay, they're on the ridgeline position on the road. It's not great to defend it if you get just pinched upon. He's like, a little bit of an off angle, and then they shut down Paraboy. That was such a key moment for God like Stalwart to get himself those eliminations and take down Nova. It was good, but I think knowing God like Stalwart, they can do better.
Talking about shutting down your opponents, hardware is needed for that as well. And what better hardware than the Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV? Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV and Sony Xperia Stream were co-developed in collaboration with professional esports players. You can play PUBG Mobile with Xperia Stream's total cooling system and multiple ports for intensive gaming and streaming. And while we're already at it, let's thank Prime Gaming as well. With Prime Gaming, you can get not only free games, but free in-game content for lots of games as well, such as PUBG Mobile. So if you want to get free rewards, skins, content, then make sure to sign up. And also, we want to thank PBSI, the local esports association in Indonesia, for supporting this beautiful event right here in Jakarta, Indonesia as well. Thank you so much for all of your support. If you haven't seen it already, there are links in the chat linking to a PFGC survey. And you can find that survey either in the chat or on social media. And we want you to let us know your feedback about the show. Positives, negatives. By doing that, you may get the chance to win some prizes as well. Thank you all in advance if you are participating in that survey. With that being said, we're going to take a short break before we dive deeper into match number 2, Miramar, that we've just seen. Welcome back to the desk of that short break. And my goodness, we are going into the last Sandhawk game of the PMGC Grand Finals 2022. And talking about Sandhawk, that last game, that last win from A, it really reminded me of that Sandhawk win.
Absolutely. I mean, starting from the high ground, being able to control a lot of teams, being able to output a lot of damage, and be pretty much guiding the teams exactly where they wanted them to go. It was alter ego, exactly what we want to see out of them. And going into Sandhawk, do you think they might get a chance to win again?
I mean, now when you're looking at the chicken dinners from Alter Ego, they win when they're on like a mountain for some reason. So if it goes towards the northwestern islands, but there's a chance, clearly, right? It does feel like they're confident, and especially when you have a home crowd right now supporting you the way this amazing crowd are, it's got to be a big moral boost. So I am hoping we see another win from them. I'd love to see it.
Me too.
Really interested in your opinion also of Geek, because they're also alive in the late game, and they did a really risky move moving into one of the only shacks inside that late game area, but it did kind of pay off, didn't it?
It did kind of pay off. Unfortunately, it's really hard to hold on to that position because you have no moving space, and it makes it really tough to try and find yourself some good shots after that one. But S2G, wow, let's get it, ladies and gentlemen. Turkey showing up strong here once more, and no, they had themselves their back performance, and you said it was a terrible game, but now they make it back up 7 in big way, and they're just looking so good up there. But the thing is, no, they're not even comfortable. Just 3 points ahead of Inco, hot on their heels, and even to this point, still have no idea who will be in first place.
Yeah, I think anybody from that first page can honestly take that first place. And then we go here, T2K, Alter Ego, the big jump up now with 95 points. I'm telling you, they can get another win here. This crowd is going to go absolutely nuts. I'm going to go crazy. You're going to go crazy. And I think we're going to see them at least in the top 7.
You know what? objective for them is I would love to see them make it in top 5. If they keep getting
Okay.
results like this, I think that would be a win.
Yes.
Also, Ego, if they make it in the top 5, that would be their goal right now, but not an easy goal to achieve, so we'll see if they can pull it off.
Let's take a look at some of the next matches that we have coming up for you. Once again, it is the last day of PMGC 2022, and especially of the Grand Finals. So we have Sanhok coming up. We were talking about their last win from Alter Ego, the last big one at least, before going into match 14, and that was Sanhok. So we're already talking about some of the chances, but going maybe over to some other teams haven't really talked about too much today. 4am, obviously, they did have their chances today as well, but they also had some good chances in Miramar just now. They get taken out by Kangzo pretty early on, though. Any thoughts going into Miramar about 4am?
I mean, going to Sanhok for 4am, I don't know. Don't really know what to expect from them, and they're really good when it comes to Erangel, really good when it comes to Miramar in particular. Sanhok is not a map for me that they really stand out on, so we'll have to see. Though one team I want to see a win for, Alpha 7. They're going to have the first one. They didn't drop off boot camp. My heart is broken, but if they can get chicken dinner, I'll forgive them.
You want them to jump on boot camp?
Because it's fun. It's fun. Tell me it's not fun.
It's absolutely amazing.
Exactly. My point exactly.
Let's look at some of the teams to watch from both of our analysts. And I was, I'm surprised none of you guys picked S2G because they're still at the very top of the table, and they did just have a good round as well. 7. What about you?
You know what? The reason why I picked Inco instead of SCG is because Inco, every single time so far this tournament that they have lost the lead, they come back the next game and they regain that lead. I expect to see that of Inco gaming. I felt like this past 2 matches, even though they did get a good performance in the first aerial, I felt like it was super lucky. Yes, we probably did end up getting 2 eliminations, but it just wasn't what I expect out of Inco gaming. With Alpha 7, I feel like it's going to be now or never. It is going to be the match that they got the chicken dinner on. You can hear everybody screaming in the background. That's because they were showing Paraboy to the crowd, and that's why I picked Nova, because for Nova, if they want to get that three-peat, it is now or never. We were walking around before that Miramar started, and we saw the analyst for Nova Esports just going, all right, we need to get things dialed down.
I wanted to decipher what was going on there, but it's too smart for me. It's too 10,000 IQ what's going on in the brain of the analyst for Nova Esports. But of course, Nova Sanhok, when it comes down to it, they can perform so on this map. Like every Battleground, despite Miramar being their one standout map, they can still get themselves some wins there.
You had Alter Ego?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I mean, I got it. If I get at least another chicken dinner, I would love to see them get themselves in the top 5. That would be the win in my eyes for the home team.
Also, going quickly over to one of the other teams you picked, DRS. I feel like they deserve it as well at this point. They have such a good showing, not only today but throughout this whole tournament. They've been so consistent.
Yeah, exactly. For DRS, they played this edge position just so damn well every single time. And we said it, they could be the silent winners here of this Grand Finals. It could be happening. If they get another result here, it will be down to the last 3 matches.
Let's see whether or not DRS is going to give themselves a chicken dinner as well. We are heading over to the commentary desk with John Lennon and Black.
Plenty of support for plenty of the players here. Sucks he's not even playing, but he's getting signs. I mean, fair enough to him. He's a cool guy. He gets the ball from the fans. Fans are here for PUBG Mobile as a whole, not just PMGC 2022 is what we're here for right now. The last Sanhok of 2022, technically. I know we're in 2023, but we're closing the book on 2022 first. Make sure you're reading everything before we head towards that sequel, which is going to be very good, or so I hear. Right now, this is the exact kind of ending that we wanted. Very competitive, a lot of very good teams up towards that top side who are still performing extremely well, even under the conditions of war. An absolute crazy finish to a tournament. Massive amount of pressure still on board. Playing map on our screens though as we head into Sanhok very shortly, in fact right now. Heading down from Cow to Docks. See where this one heads. We did see it go all the way towards that northwest side where Alter Ego were able to pick up their first chicken dinner of the tournament. They just grabbed another over on Miramar. Towards the top, especially after this game, Blank, I imagine that we're going to start to see teams dropping out of the race for that top spot for the champion title. To lift the trophy at the end of the day. Match 15, it is so close to the end of what these teams have worked all year for. What a way to cap it off it would be. Not for anyone really. to lift that trophy. Phenomenal news. Nova, if they want to defend their title, they have to stand up now.
Seven put it best. Honestly, this has to be the time for it, right? Because 3 more matches, you have to be absolutely blinded. You have to hit it outside of the park every single time. You want to be that guy that has to make that poor dude run all the way into the car park to pick the ball back up again just so that you can hit it for 6 once more. And if Nova's going to do that, it has to be some extremely potent games coming forward. Already Circle ends up in their direction down towards Painan. Maybe a chance for it. I think the scariest thing for Nova is they've left it so late at this point in time that you're doing it on Sandhawk, a pretty unreliable map when it comes to hitting those points. Is the map where you just want to be consistent. 10 points average is absolutely fine. But for Nova, 10 points is not enough. They're going to have to go for the chicken dinner. Second place with a lot of eliminations. First place with a lot of eliminations. Third place might just cut it. But again, you don't want to have to go into a Wrangle and Miramar and have to continue to pump up those points. But Nova right now, this is certainly a chance to pick up a huge amount of eliminations from Painan, which does fall in the path of a lot of rotations of these teams coming down towards the southwest side of the map.
Nova might be able to pick up a whole host of points for themselves if they play their cards right here. Controlling their crossing could be crucial for their chance at the title. But for Angry Men, a little bit closer to that title right now. Sat on 126, 14 points behind S2G at the top spot. And they'll be looking to try and close that gap here. Unfortunately going down in a not great performance over on Miramar for 4 Angry Men. And S2G obviously doing as well as they did. It is going to be difficult.
Yeah, 140 points. I think a lot of the attention was on that Alter Ego win. Now sits them in 10th. A very good capability to get in towards top 6 if they really push it to the limit now. But for S2G, can't take from the fact that they were able to get that second place, right? Well, third place over on Miramar from a very nice compound. Good amount of eliminations as well, which sits them now at 140. Inco behind at 137. 4 AM really did not get a lot of points on that last match, getting crunched away on that western edge.
Godlike Stalwart playing in Boot Camp Central, yet to make their full decision on rotation to move down to that southwestern island potentially. Most likely we will be finishing over there, so at least getting to the compounds to their southwest on the confluence of the rivers on that trifecta compound blank could be a good decision for Godlike Stalwart, because remember they're on 110. They're an outside shot, but they are still very much a horse in the race.
Yeah, I think that is something that we need to consider. They do keep having these pretty good performances throughout our matches today and yesterday, in fact, with Top at the start of the day being the highest damage dealer by quite a fair bit as well. He has really been putting in the work for the team. Inco versus DRS. Scary engagement for the Inco here. I do think that DRS brings a lot more firepower to punch here. Inco with the compound does provide them with a little bit of safety though going forward. DRS still looking to push in on this one though.
I feel like
disgusting shots though.
On the defense, nice. Inco have had lots of practice. So if they are given a compound like this to hold,
yeah,
this is them at their best. And DRS, again, same as what you said, on their best performance.
Exactly. This is their kind of best scenario. It's a very, very good point, John, in the sense that Inco is playing their best sort of gameplay, and DRS is the one who is very good with a battering ram, pushing in from the edge side. Nades come through. DRS is playing this marvelously, backing off. Texas two-step here, not allowing Inco to get anything done, and Nenevete falls from Delta.
That was the position on the outside as well for Inco. An off angle from Nenevete is dealt with, handled, and 2 players from DRS are going to start to move on this hillside. Look how far away Gianti and Delta are, but they do not lack the confidence here. DRS are going to play off against one another, sees Nenevete get behind the rock. And the information should be gathered on over. No nades for rules to be able to lob that behind. No Molotovs either. And teammate just suppressing those angles for Tali. in the compound for Inco. And actually, Nenabete has been res now. The QBU, an ankle spotted for rules, does get a little tickle of damage, and up in the hunting tower, Killer doesn't quite find a knock either. These small amounts of healing can start to come through. Vitali wants to leverage position. This is a crucial fight, and with Inco on 3 players already, they might be letting this second place on the table slip just a little bit.
Delta with a nade. Could go straight through that window there. Lobs it in. Vitali's fine. Good sprays though. Vitali takes a lot of damage. We'll go for the pre-spray on the window. Delta runs back. That could be bad news. Vitali does not peek out quick enough, and Delta finds himself in a very strong spot. In the meantime, Squash goes very low, goes down now. Vitali, last member remaining. Inco, 137 in second place, crumbling at this point in time.
This is massive for DRS. A nade out through the window, and Vitali now last standing. A massive powerhouse for Inco during the games we've seen so far, the first 14 matches, but in match number 15, he has to go 1 versus 4 against DRS, who started the game 4 points behind them. With this final point, they will find the equalizer. They are neck and neck now, second place for both teams.
DRS must be extremely happy with that one. Both in the same type of position too. And for Inco, this is a similar rotation, so you wonder if DRS have targeted this. Taking them down here and early does not allow them to go for their classic approach in towards the circle. Alpha 7 though versus S2G, currently low on members.
Alpha 7 getting pushed down the pecking order somewhat in that last game. Looking to try and slow the lead over on S2G side. Nades are really putting some punishment heavily in the way for S2G. Razy with the DBS around the rock. Silas and Hamzy G both going low, in a lovely little opening found. No peaks being made by Alpha 7. We've talked about how they're streaky, how they're hot, how they have some power, but here they play it calm and reserved against S2G. 1 player remains, Kelsey.
Kelsey does a send out a dodge. 7 for saying he'd love to see Alpha 7 come out on top here on Sandhawk. They're certainly an aggressive team. They work well on Sandhawk as a whole. Those nades were perfectly placed. In the meantime, though, we do have a botation coming through. One of the first of PMGC 2022.
Oh, yeah.
It's 4 AM. We're all the way from Docks, and you wonder where they're going to sit in place. Maybe drop up towards where Wolves are playing. In Tambang, be a potential position to rock up towards, or towards that western side of Bantai. Also a pretty good position to play from. Maybe going for more of an edge play here for 4 AM. But again, I think this is another very important game for 4 AM because at 126 points, behind Alpha 7 now in 5th place, really will take something special for them to get towards the top. Back in that conversation, John.
Crashing into Vampire's position 1 and 2 fall. My name P will be joined by Sky Only as well. 3rd player to fall for Buradam, and Vampire. This is a solid hold. They've managed to allow them to step into the Lion's Den. And they will keep on going. Bottom of the tables for Vampire, but even they have so much power to play with, Blank. It is so difficult to make headway in this lobby. And finally, they're able to pick up the points against Buradam. 4 eliminations. They cross that 60-point threshold.
Finally. Taking a while. Again, though, as we said before, no one's really on that 10-point average at the moment, so it's really still quite malleable in terms of gaining those points, getting higher within the tables itself. T2K coming in from the southeast side. 4 AM opting to go even further outside of the zone on their botation. Could even drop off up towards IHC and Alter Ego, just the south side. Camp Alpha, though I do think we might see this engagement coming through between IHC and Alter Ego. Already those Jolt down. This is a great opportunity for Alter Ego. Raynor X moves around the side. DBS with a bit of damage, but not enough.
Alex goes for the full lap of the compound and takes a little bit too much damage there from Pombit. Has to back off though. Nade in hand could prove to be really very troublesome for IHC if he's able to land it right around the edge or put it into the building as well. Pombit wants to pop it through the door, back up to the building he has for cover. And Alter Ego playing a little bit smarter. IHC allowed to get the res, however, and now both of these teams have to share it, 4 apiece. 2 buildings held, and a lovely little off angle from Fnatic. The high ground held. What a rotation from him. Gets the flush over onto Demo. Needs to be worried from the side, and Seoul does not manage to slip it on through. Nade over the top might be able to do the job, though. And if Fnatic goes down here, they might turn it topsy-turvy. A lovely reposition away.
Runs from there.
Excellent heads-up play from Fnatic to keep that high ground under control. And in goes Alter Ego. Godless and Alex on the inside. The first is rebuffed. Now the rest of the team need to step forward. Godless finds a second, and the third is there. It's all coming crumbling down. Only Fnatic now standing for Alter Ego. It looked so hopeful when they'd taken down Demo, but now they're left high and dry with only Fnatic.
The 3v3 could have been there, but I think with that man advantage, you never push on that. But again, the drums from the crowd, that's the type of thing that really could take you into a new type of drive, a new type of sensation, just wanting to push it out. Now Fnatic just has to live for a little bit longer. Real unfortunate stuff. Circle heads up towards the northwest side. Influence Kevin in a really strong spot towards that bridge, but a lot of water in this one, not a lot of places to play. 4AM ditches their boat, will start to swim towards the docks of Tambang.
Somehow it's the best strategy out of a lot of these teams from the top 5. I would say in this next circle it's probably about 30% playable terrain at this stage, Blank, if you don't count the water, which I guess you could say is technically playable, but even then it's going to be very, very tricky. Not only that, but you've got a lot of shallows in that water, which you can't hide in. You can't just swim around there in that river.
No, it's very difficult, and I think that even if you look up towards that northern side, that landmass is sort of not what you want right now, particularly with the fact that it most likely will move away from there. Could even end up on the bridge, you know, which would be absolutely crazy. Alpha 7 moving up out of the blue now, just getting out of it, heading up towards T2K's location. S2G still in the game with Kelsey all the way on that northern edge by IHC.
With the eliminations that Nova have been able to find so far too, they do break into 3 digits. 101 points now. We said at the start they need a big game, every game from here on out. They are still as 4, and then on the southeast side, and pretty much the center of the playable terrain. Mythic, spotted, cut out, and Vampire continue picking up their 5th elimination of the game. Oh, Carrillo wants to push them back though, and Schwepp finds a second as well. Carrillo looks for a third!
Ooh, he gets it as well.
Oh my goodness me, but not going to be good enough, unfortunately. A third party comes on in, and that is beautiful news for Vampire to keep themselves alive, but my, what a go of it from Alpha 7. Shift comes in, it's all the way down south, and 4 Angry Men, with a rotation, playing out in the water, somehow, Blank, have one of the best positions in this next circle.
Yeah, extremely strong. I think the real question for me is, can they get up onto the coastal side? Currently still in the water. Most likely we'll have to move up towards the docks on the northern side that Influence Kemen are currently holding on to. It's a little bit awkward, certainly still playable. Question is, how much loot do they still have? They weren't out in the blue for a very long time either, considering how much water was still in. I think they played that move very, very exceptionally well. Just because you're on that western side anyway, usually they might have thought about dropping in earlier on the south, but they understood that there's so much water out there, we're outside that 400 meter LOS range, so we can just drop out the vehicle, no one even knows we're here, we swim towards the coastal side. It's not likely anyone's going to be looking at that coast anyway if they didn't see a boat in the first place. So for 4AM, this is a very heads-up play. It will kind of run on the coattails on the fact that if they can get up onto the island itself without Influence Kemen spotting.
Some more swimming going on through. IHC sharking off the Fnatic, trying to live his best dolphin life here. Going to struggle with it. 3 players in pursuit for the squad. Nova playing on the eastern side of the circle, just to the southwest of Ruins, will be guarding out DRS. A very important fight for not only Nova's progression, but DRS's to try and climb up those tables towards S2G, who are still going, by the way, with Kelsey on the northern shore, but I'm sure that's going to be very difficult to make any more headway.
WWX making a dangerous move right now. Swinging over the top side of this rock. Fnatic doesn't take too much damage by HC, unfortunately spotted much quicker. DRS just moving towards Nova's position, but gets sent back fairly quickly here. Good Xiao. The rest of 4am. Frozen though. It's a heavy hit there, but DRS is just slowly but surely bleeding out as the bullets find the target too many times.
Just Delta remaining under the purview of Nova, who seem to have turned it up a notch. 5 eliminations now on the game. That nade is going to cross with the one from Frozen. And Delta takes a little bit of damage. Frozen and Jimmy playing off that same angle, trying to move on forwards as much as they can, as Godlike Stalwart on the northern side clashed with Influence Chem, and it's going pretty even on that trade over on the northern side. If DRS go down here, it is going to be so close, with Kelsey almost certainly going down fairly soon. I think he's still healing right now in the blue zone. We saw that strategy go a little bit down the pan with the changes to the circles that we saw, but you can still get to maybe a top 8 if you're lucky.
Top 8 certainly still available. Stalwart moves up though. Influence Kemin taking punishment here from them. Pika moves in, finds another little boy. I think last remaining now for the team. Wolves in the meantime keeping Geek Fam off their doorstep.
Pushing them back. Pick Feet the only casualty so far for Wolves, but in come Nova to try and play spoiler. There they go for S2G as well. So the top of the tables is down and out. Delta most likely not long for this game either. And the nades from Nova start to pour in through the windows. One more launched on in for Order. 3 eliminations for Order, 3 for Paraboy right now. And they're going to try and add that one as well. Pick Feet still down for the Wolves. Chinese team pushing onto Chinese team, but Memory shuts down Frozen's close position. A second knock over towards the back from Remember finds Order. Jimmy wants the res on the player towards the back. Paraboy still active. Order super low, and there's the knock. Paraboy now in a 1 versus 3 on the hold. Needs to push in, but Delta's still there. DRS are still going, and they might be the spoiler that they were looking for. Frozen knocked on the front, and Jimmy resable here, sure, but the nades can come from the Wolves, and Paraboy, he's not looking his back, he's not checking his 6, and Delta might move on through and play complete spoiler. Delta falls to Geek Fam, who play a third party, and Nova are going to stay alive for it.
Jimmy might stay up here, 33 Zan. Also on that western side, have been watching as Fnatic and IHC have rolled in, giving the information back. WWX looks over towards that spot, and Ziol might just try and play spoiler, but the information's already been gathered, it's already been thrown through, and already 4am are starting to swing, sift, flow down towards this south side. And Fnatic still going for Alter Ego.
Let's take a minute to talk about Vampire, though. They have reached 10 eliminations. They hold a massive high ground compound in this next circle blank. We've seen them take a fight. They held out Buduram really nicely, and they've been leveraging their position ever since.
Absolutely. It's going to be difficult to remove Vampire from this spot. They knew they needed a big game. Scry tries to run across, but it's over open ground. It's only a matter of time for some of those shots here, and this is the PMGC. This is where the players don't miss. This is where you give them an easy shot and you go to your knees.
Speaking of, Paraboy and Jimmy lighting it up against Godlike Stalwart on the hillside. The Wolves still in their compound, holding out Nova with the blue zone pushing in. They do need to go for this fight. It was slowed down earlier and taken out of the mix. And teams are really not willing to give any ground. 4 angry men want to go on the chase. They had 14 points to make up, but Span goes down to top. 2 players active for Godlike Stalwart. Fnatic still in the water underneath, but Ziol's close by. We're going to roll that one up. Paraboy knocks Nova, finds the last as well, and Wolves are alive with 3. 7th place, 6 eliminations. It's not terrible, but blank, they needed more than that.
They did need more than that. 4am as well. I thought that push from Spam was a bit weird. Massive grenade there. The only saving grace, the nade takes down top. WWX has to hit this first aid kit soon, but he's out into the open now. I think 4am's going to struggle.
Already down to just one player in WWX, and he has to hit one of these shots. 5th place for Alter Ego. Ravenclaw nearly gets away with it, but WWX, Meerkat's back underneath. Pete's down. Wolves are now looking to roll on in and play from the bottom of the hill that everybody else has struggled with so much, but underneath them is Action and maybe a little bit of an unknown X factor here. I don't think they know. They're certainly not aware. Steps up, Pick Feet. Oh, he's with the spray completely. Action now. 3 players bearing down right upon him. He's somehow gets to some sort of semblance of safety, but he's finally sought out and sanctioned for his trouble.
Wolves versus Vampire, and Vampire up on high. But in a 4v4, an unlikely setting here on Sandhawk that we see this type of engagement. Both sides own some cover. There's a row between both of them. If Vampire want to end up in the top 8 today, like Sir Tanny was saying earlier, the coach from the team, this will have to be the clean 1v4. 4v4.
They started the game on none 157.
That is true.
So they are going to need
Most teams are on the hundreds and something.
Exactly. So hopefully with this game, 14 eliminations, they're looking to put more up as well. They might even challenge the 18 elimination game we've seen already today, Blank. Coming on through, but Pick Feet has other ideas. Memory has fallen in the meantime, so 2 players active for the Wolves. 15 eliminations on the card for Vampire with 3 more left to gain. 1 more now stands between them and the chicken dinner. It is Vampire from the bottom of the tables. The looks of relief on their faces as they pick up an 18 elimination chicken dinner. 33 points on the game. That will see them up to 90 points now, Blank.
One of the most inconsistent teams I've seen in a long time, and one of the most interesting teams in their inconsistency, because they can either be very low on that streak or be up towards the 20 points a game mark. You don't see that very often in a team who fluctuates in performance like this so often. PMWI was a great example when they were up on their numbers, right? And again, this is the type of game that we saw so often from them, and it looked almost effortless over the time when they went up against Alpha 7, but other than that, it was effortless for them. It looked like they made all the right moves at all the right times. They were taking some incredible shots which were pinpoint accurate, by the way, and that end game, which is the case the Wolves came up, they were expecting they were going to go for a very rough fight, but it was just a ridiculous amount of grenades going over the top, all perfectly placed. Fish bash bosh, the fight's done.
Well, they wanted to be in the top 8, Blank, and they might have been able to do that here with a big, big chicken dinner. 18 eliminations and a chicken dinner. Chicken dinner for Vampire Esports.
Not sure what a chicken dinner is, but I do believe we've had a chicken dinner in our hands. Anyways, Vampire, they are coming out of the gate swinging today, apparently, at least Sandhawk, and that is something I think none of us, actually, did one of you pick? Oh my goodness, Seven says yes. You did pick Vampire. If that isn't the prediction of the century.
Remember earlier when you were trying to ask a question about Vampire, if they can make the first place, and I just absolutely cut you off, but I also said that this team does have the potential to get a win today and just showcase their skill, because we know they have the skill. I mean, we got a chance to see it firsthand when we were at PMWI earlier last year, actually. It's just, as Blank put it best, like, it's one of the most inconsistent, consistent teams out there, and they're just fun to watch.
Yeah, it's really fun to watch, to be honest. And that push on Alpha 7 was like, it's actually a good push. Good push. Then Carrillo had the DBS. Then it was not a fun push anymore for them. So, as expected, then, very inconsistent team when it comes down to it. And for this event, not been looking so good so far. But no, this is just like a little explosion. Like, we're still here, guys. Don't forget about us. And they'll get a little bit of a prize pool increase too. But as you said, Sir Tanny said, if they can get themselves in that 8th position, that is going to be their objective. And with games like that, it's definitely in arm's reach.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Maybe one team that we saw in the late game as well that I want to touch on. Wolves. They still haven't got that chicken dinner in PMGZ 2022 in the grand finals, but they've come so close just now. Is it something you expect to happen?
I didn't hear the team name. Can you say that? The team
Wolves.
name?
Wolves. That's what I mean.
Yeah, I think it could be happening for sure. I mean, I think that the way they pushed out that compound more specifically was really good on the X-Player I was talking about. They're lucky. If TGK do not third-party that fight, 7, I think we lose both teams, potentially, to, like, whatever the hell is happening in that fight. But TGK, saves it up for VP?
Why you gotta bring that up? Why you gotta bring that up? With Alpha 7, by the way, the crazy rotation that they did in that match to just go through everybody and try to push it, it kind of worked out until it didn't when Vampire Esports did end up pushing towards it with the match ranking. Here we go, 33 points. I mean, that's definitely gonna put them closer to that top 8. Which one do you have in mind?
I was going to say VP. I was going to say that was not like celebration. That was just relief on their faces after that game.
A good performance out of 4 Angry Men. I mean, a team that definitely needed Nova as well. We're talking about how this team definitely needs to react, and it's good that they did that because guess what? Inco Gaming, 0 points. S2G Esports, 2 points, and then Alpha 7, 3 points. So if there was ever a time to get a little bit closer and make it even tighter at the top, to just leave us suspenseful. I think even going into the last match, I think last play is going to be the deciding factor for the win.
I think it's going to be down to the last game between 5, 6 teams essentially. That's how close it is currently at the top. But I also want to bring up that was absolutely Chinese dominated this game when it comes to Sanook. Wolves Esports in second place when it comes to points, 4th and 5th respectively, 4 for Angry Men and Nova. Really wants again doing good on this battleground, but we're done with Sanook. It doesn't matter anymore. You only have Miramar and Erangel left to go.
And with that said, I mean, DRS Gaming, they did end up with 5 points, and now we're going to be going into Erangel as well. I'm pretty sure those extra points are going to push them out even more, as they are currently in 4th place. S2G maintaining that 1st place. 4 Angry Men now with 2nd place, 138 points, and Inco Gaming does go down.
It is absolutely furiously close. Look at this, 142 points. Going down to 6th place is 123 only. That's not even a win, essentially. That's just a good game. And looking over at the second part of the ranking, we will see just that as well. Still plenty of teams that have got the choice to maybe come out swinging, just like we just saw in our last game from some of the teams on the second half. Maybe not Vampire again. I mean, we were all kind of counting them not into the favorites anymore, at least the possibilities. Maybe someone else from that second side.
I think up to 7th place, up to where Nova is, any of those teams can take 1st place.
Yeah, but even that, you're looking at teams on the second page, if they get themselves a pop-off game, they're in the race. Like, you're asking for predictions. How the hell are we supposed to predict 7? We're supposed to do analysis. How do you analyze this situation? I have no goddamn clue right now.
All right, let me give you a little bit of context of why I didn't pick anybody here from the second page, at least towards the top, right? It's because T2K, yeah, they did have a 16 elimination game. Yeah, I think it was the 2nd place finish. I just don't see any of those teams having 2 pop-off performances.
But it could happen.
But I don't see it.
You're telling me there's a chance.
But I don't see it.
Fair enough. Yeah, I do respect that point, because if your team is inconsistent, not able to close off games, you're not looking confident. But the fact that the hope is still alive, and we saw insane comebacks in every esports, even more specifically in PUBG Mobile esports. So the hope is still alive. The teams can still make it happen.
Let's look at some of the drop spot locations. I quickly want to touch on INF, because I really thought they had a great chance of a great game in the last Sandhawk match that we just saw as well. But they have been so inconsistent the last 8-9 matches almost.
We're going to have one of the Brazilian teams, unfortunately, be behind, and in this case, it is going to be Infinite Kemin. And I still think this is a team that, during the league stage, just showed absolute greatness. But the grand finals, I mean, they're just completely outclassed by your Incos, by your Alpha 7s. It's unfortunate, but a team that still has potential and could still make it up there. Yeah. They need a win, though.
I think it would have been reasonable for me to sit here and with my bias towards Brazil, think that there was going to be 3 teams at the top continuing in the next 3 days, right? That's why I was waving the Brazil flag at the start of day 2, because I knew there was
still could.
Yeah, exactly. While I still could, because I knew one of those teams was going to end up dropping off, and it definitely happened that way.
Talking about dropping off, Fireflux is in last place right now. And whenever I watch them in the early game especially, I always feel like the rotations, sure, they're maybe a little bit late, but I feel like they do have opportunities. They're just not capitalizing on towards them.
I think you just described it super well there, right there, Alex. They have such good opportunities to get in good positions, to do their rotations. They're just unfortunately a little bit too slow. They hold on to their splits too long, and they lose players like one player or two just too quickly, and that really just hinders their chances of a potential chicken dinner almost instantly. So at Fireflux, I had high hopes for them, but right now my hopes are just crumbling down to pieces. I'm disappointed this event for them.
Disappointed in Fireflux, Maxman. Let's look at some of the teams to watch. And Maxman, starting off with you, Nova, 4AM, and Starlord. Can you explain?
Nova's been having a little bit of a redemption, right? Their second, third place of yesterday, they've been getting stuff some good points. Third place here, like that is not that big chicken dinner that I still want to see from a godlike Starlord game, but it's enough to still remain in the race, to slowly but surely climb back up. They were in 6th position right now, I do believe. That is close enough to still become the world champions right now. That is how close it is for them in this event.
Oh man, I have DRS. Because
just well,
sorry, Max. I'm just thinking about DRS. They were able to show me some stuff in Myanmar. We still have one Myanmar left, and then we going into Erangel. We have seen what they're able to do in Erangel. We do have 2 games left. This team set themselves up perfectly for this chance to go for that push to first place. We've seen S2G have some great performances, but they are just not able to be consistent, right?
Yeah.
They're not able to be consistent to the life that DRS has been able to be consistent and maintain themselves there towards the top. Guy like Stalwart, I 100% agree with what you were saying there. And I mean, with Nova, I was saying it earlier, if there was ever a chance for them to try to go back for that three-peat, it's going to be now. We did see some flashes here and there. We saw what Paraboy was able to do. And we saw Order wake up a little bit. He has had not the best tournament. We saw him get at least 3 eliminations in the last match at Sandhog. This could be a chance.
I think it's fair to say if we see Order wake up and play at the level at which Paraboy's been playing, especially Frozen, like a big surprise. Didn't really know what to expect from Frozen. He's really stepped up in these past 2 days. If we see Order on the level we saw him last year, where he took the MVP award for that season, I'm telling you, they're going to be unstoppable. But we need to see Order up there for these 3 matches.
Yeah. I also really want to, now that I quickly want to touch on that copy in terms of who we want to see in that first phase as well, Alter Ego. I was surprised you picked them, I think, almost all of the times today, but not now. And I really feel like if they do want to make it in, if they want to keep that momentum, they need to perform now. They need to make this Erangel game count.
I think the reason why we keep having them as their team to watch is just on your screen right now. All the fans. Well, you've got the Geek Fam fans also. Every once in a while you'll have like some Geek Fam like cries in the background, but I think it's a little bit drowned by the Alter Ego war cry. Do we have every game pretty much at this point?
They have made us biased. That's what it comes down to.
It's your fault, audience.
To be fair though, hey, the audience has been absolutely amazing. Even when it's not their team, even when the team goes down, they're still clapping for them, they're still supporting them. Even when some other fights are happening too, like they just maintaining that hype, and I absolutely love the crowd.
I felt starved for the past 2 years now, not having, that was a weird way to put it, but you know what I mean,
I know what you mean.
Not having a live audience for the past years. I think the last time was actually Malaysia, if I'm not mistaken, an era where you actually were at 7. It was great to have a live audience, but we're back here once again, and some of the teams I've been able to just pull some true strength from the audience, been here, able to support them, and Vampire, no? Seeing some smiles on their faces.
I was going to say, if this audience is like this, I can't wait to see what Turkey is going to be like in December. Okay? That's going to be absolute madness as well.
I really hope we're going to see just as strong of a performance in terms of the Turkish team as we're seeing now in terms of SDG. I quickly want to touch on them because they're still very much in the race. And they've just had maybe in terms of
rough game.
Yeah, rough game. Let's just say they just had a rough game. But going to the next ones, I mean, Sandhog is always a little bit unpredictable. What are your hopes on them?
It's weird because we talk about S2G as being like this consistent team, right? Especially in day 2. Day 1, it was a little bit rough, topsy-turvy. But now they're back to that topsy-turvy situation where they had themselves that good Miramar match. Sure, we're not able to actually convert it in a win. But it was like, so far it's down, up, down once again. So I want to see just some more consistent point coming in for them. I mean, I don't think, I watched the VOD yesterday, I don't think you guys can actually hear the audience because our headphones are so good. The noise cancellation is top tier, but I can tell you, we can hear it through the headphones, and it's a true ambiance.
We feel the floor vibrate. That's how amazing it is.
I want to throw my headset in there just for you guys to actually listen to it. You know, get right there into the audience. But talking about SG, yes, I mean, it's so weird to see, you know, SG performing that well, with Fireflux being at the very bottom, because I wouldn't have expected that going into the grand finals. The skill, the discrepancy, and also the experience isn't that much, there isn't that much difference between these two teams.
Yeah, I mean, there's some disappointments for some of the team, but that's unfortunately how it goes. When you have the top best teams in the world participating in one single event like this, and you're going to have some teams at the bottom. It's the nature of esports. It's how things are going to be going down for some of these teams, and no, unfortunately for the side of Fireflux, that's how things are going right now. Meta late game. I mean, that's it. Hashtag Nova Meta late game. Day 3 is the late game, technically.
If we're going to be talking about Fireflux, I mean, something that we got to keep in mind, and we just saw it perfectly, especially out of Vampire Esports, it's those teams at the bottom that are going to be playing that spoiler role, right, for the teams at the top. For the teams that are going to be working to try to get those points, that man's just taking a nap. He's waiting. He's waiting patiently. And he's also thinking about, okay, which team from the bottom, Vampire Esports, Fireflux, maybe influence Kamen. They're going to decide to wake up at least one game, take some points that are much needed from the teams at the top, and it's going to make it even tighter.
I feel that we have these our teams to watch every single time. We need like 15 teams to watch. We need more spots to be able to show the teams you want to see before.
It's literally every single team.
Exactly.
It almost is. Talking about teams has been really, really good, and I'm especially excited going into the next game because, well, they are very close to making it to the very top as well. Just 15 points difference between champ and the first place. Let's head over to the casters because we are going into the next match for the PMGC Grand Finals. One of the very last ones, unfortunately. John Allen and back.
Another match, another Erangel on the cards. Blank player. Correct. Can't believe his eyes.
I can't believe it, no, it feels weird. This is our second to last Erangel coming through. After this we will have the Minima, and then finishing off with Erangel. Sadly, honestly, I'm tearing up. I don't really want to leave. It has been so fantastic here. Luckily I don't have to leave. Happy days, happy days. But yeah, we will be finishing PMGC 2022 very soon. First we will have to crown a victor. That game was extremely important for a couple of teams, particularly DRS, able to get a little bit far into that one, but at least they did get some elimination points, especially versus Inco. But before AM, very important how far they got. I mean, with a very odd rotation, they were right on the eastern side of the map, went to docks, rotated round through the water. It worked out quite well for them. I think it was a 4th place in the end they were able to achieve, they were able to pick up, which is very good stuff. But that means that they are still in the running now. S2G have performed their little hearts out. I'll give them that. I think they've done really well at this event. I think that they've played a very dominant game. It feels like they're in some very good priority positions. They fight for these priority positions, they take them comfortably, and I think that S2G can definitely take it all the way at this rate. And for Turkey, this would be a monumental achievement for them should they pick up the grand title of PMGC 2022 champions. However, all that remains to be seen as we head into match 4 for Erangel.
Plane path, very heavy south lean here from Novo to the middle of the west coast, just a little bit north of Quarry. So a deep cut there, difficult to get to places like Severny, is going to be very, very inaccessible. So T2K might go for a backup drop. Last time we saw a plane path, actually fairly similar to this. We had a northern circle on the back of it, and nobody went to C block, so I'm going to be interested to see if a team adapts to that information, or if more than one team adapts to that information.
Again, I don't think you'll see anyone going to C block on Sudnovka. I genuinely don't see it happening. I think most teams are prioritising getting these central spots on the circle, and that means being up towards that northern side.
There you go.
I think a change like that would mean that you are in contention with Stalwart, crossing these bridges, those kind of late challenges a bit more difficult. I think everyone just realises, look, we're just going to allow Stalwart to have it. There's no point us clashing with Stalwart at this point in the game. It's not really a chance you want to take, especially with Stalwart playing much better today as well. That's one of the things that you have to watch out for, is which team's on top, which team's looking a little hot today, and I think Stalwart's certainly one of them. In terms of a team of team fighting prowess, one of the top out there, that is for sure. Looking at a lot of the other teams dropping out, Vampire coming off the back of a big win there over on Sandhawk. I think that is our elimination lead for the entirety of PMGC 2022 with 18 eliminations total. Primos drop for them. 4 AM able to get out towards North George, especially with this little bump up at the end of the plane path up towards the western coast. This does give time for 4 AM to head up there.
Influence came in close to Kengzo with Koroski. Federal's there as well, but he's too slick with it. Might be able to get in the vehicle. It's just wasting time until there can be some backup from the rest of the squad. You can see there is a micro Uzi on a bike. Wow, Koroski actually in a little bit of danger. Might be going the wrong way if he heads towards Sky Only. There's more bullets to worry about, I'm sure. Keeping them separated and actually regrouped up so does not get pushed into danger, into the line of fire. Unlike Vitali, and Inco lose a player early. Really, really good news for all those teams around. They might lose a second as well, as Nene Bete jumps into the vehicle and hightails it out of there.
Once again, this issue is coming through for Inco without...
They're still in the air.
We're still in the air as well. Without a set and fair playing path, Inco really struggles right off the bat. Because they don't have that set drop spot, like I was saying before, when everyone has a fair place to land, you aren't seeing people dropping in random locations. But when this happens, Inco doesn't have those little areas that are free that they can start to trash loot in, then move to the center quite quickly. They have to drop in areas where other teams are. I don't think they are the best at early game team fights whatsoever. So for Inco, this is really bad news having these two Southern Playing Paths matches in a row. Right now 137 points in third place, tied up with DRS. In fact, after losing one player, it might even be Inco slipping even further down the leaderboard at the moment.
You cannot let these opportunities pass. But Inco's record is undeniable here. Over an 80% top 5 rating. I mean, 400 men over 70 is incredible. But to be that consistent from Inco is something else indeed. IHC, though, clashing with T2K. Shotguns and pistols at dawn of the game leave both teams a little bit hampered and harried. IHC, though, managed to keep everybody alive, and that is a big bonus against Rig and Jane, who did go down for T2K.
4M also close by in this area, John. They do have weapons, they do have things to play around with. The UMP, the Micro Uzi 2, demo down the way, and it looks like 4AM is just going to pick up the vehicles and head back out. Try and meet back up again with Svan over towards North George, waiting for this engagement to conclude. Now IHC moves further down towards South George. The rotate 4AM becomes a little bit more easy. Central position, central spot. Central spot is great. Alter Ego also towards the center of the map too, so Rotok is looking good for them. Inco, on the other hand, have had to move up towards Yaz at the moment, which is a little bit more awkward, John.
Going a little bit further north on the 3-player rotation. DRS on the southeast side, just leaving Milton now. DRS tied right now with Inco, 137 apiece. Alpha 7, 128. Godlike Store, 123. It's a top 6 race at this stage for me. Blank, we have 2 matches remaining. There is always the outside possibility of a Nova standout performance, and Wolves, who have put themselves in the conversation, and we have to mention Alter Ego, of course, just a little bit behind them, but that possibility is shrinking fast. You need to start to rack up eliminations now if you want those things to come through.
Exactly. Alter Ego on 1 on 10 and 2. Very good scoring for them so far. I mean, look, up towards 7th place, they're only 5 points behind. It really is 6th to first place at the moment, which is a bit more difficult to get into. I think top 8 is a really good result, whatever team you are. Top 8 in PMGC means you're in the top 10 of the world. You're not 10th place in the world, which is kind of not what you want to say, but you're in that top 10 of the world. So getting into top 8 is a really good goal for a lot of these teams. Vampire, unfortunately, after that last game, even though they want to be in that top 8, that huge chicken dinner has only dragged them out of 16th place by 3 points.
DRS take control of the north side of Potato Hill, but the west is threatened by Wolves. They'll need to light the torches and ward them off on the west edge, but they're just staying grouped up for now. Not taking too many risks. It's slap bang in the centre of the circle, and there is room for 2 teams on the top of Potato Hill. But if they're going to turn their attention their way, certainly if they're going to pop shots like that, maybe that will spook DRS into going for an engagement over the top.
Inco takes themselves out of the picture. They're going to head up all the way towards that northern side of the map. I don't think we're going to see too much out of this team and towards that end game. And I think that's going to be the killer for them, because they are not playing like they are a champion team, right? That is the issue for Inco, is that they play to survive, they play to get big points, but when you get towards those last 3 games, you have to play like that championship depends on it. I think for Inco, they are relying on other teams doing badly, as opposed to themselves taking it home for themselves.
And then you compare that to teams like S2G, to DRS, I think, one of the very proactive teams in this lobby. And you've got to wonder if they've got the legs to make this one work. Inco, a surprise from the Brazilian region to be such a hot contender in this one. Alpha 7, maybe a little bit less of a surprise, but still very far up there. And Brazil will be proud no matter what the result at the end of these 2